To chase success is to flee yourself. To find yourself is to stumble upon true success. If the ladder of success is leaned against the wrong building, why are so many people still climbing? For millennia, humanity has sought to define and achieve success. Yet the path to genuine fulfillment remains elusive for many. The ancient Greeks saw eudaimonia often translated as flourishing or living well as the ultimate aim, a state achieved not through material wealth or power, but through virtuous action and inner harmony. Aristotle, in his Nicomachean Ethics, argued that eudaimonia is the highest good, the activity of the soul in accordance with virtue. It is not a static condition, but a continuous process of striving for excellence and living in accordance with one's true nature. Similarly, Carl Jung's work on individuation offers a powerful framework for understanding true success as the lifelong process of becoming a whole and integrated self. Individuation, in Jungian terms, is the journey of integrating conscious and unconscious aspects of the personality, including the shadow self, to achieve psychological wholeness. Whether we strive for career advancement, creative expression, or deeper relationships, the underlying desire is the same: to realize our full potential and live a meaningful life. We all yearn to discover our unique gifts, contribute to the world in a meaningful way, and experience a sense of purpose and belonging. However, modern society often equates success with external validation, wealth, status, and achievement, leading many to feel unfulfilled despite their accomplishments. We see countless examples of individuals who have achieved conventional markers of success: financial wealth, prestigious careers, social recognition, yet still feel a profound sense of emptiness, a nagging feeling that something is missing. Someone may make 7 figures and hate their life, while another makes $30,000 and enjoys it, relatively speaking. So, how can we redefine success in a way that aligns with our true selves and leads to lasting fulfillment? Given the limitations of external definitions of success, how can we tap into our inner resources and create a life of authentic meaning and purpose? This video will explore the psychology of success through a Jungian lens, revealing how archetypes and the shadow self can either hinder or help us on our path to individuation and wholeness, a journey that may lead you to discover a definition of success that truly resonates with your soul. This also establishes the connection that archetypes aren't bad, but are unconscious patterns operating without awareness, alleviating view of fear of the shadow. We'll journey into the depths of the unconscious mind, explore the power of archetypes in shaping our lives, and uncover practical techniques for integrating our shadow and embracing our true selves, revealing how the integration of the shadow is true success. By understanding these principles, you'll not only gain insights into the psychology of success, but also acquire practical tools for overcoming inner obstacles, aligning with your authentic self, and creating a life of lasting fulfillment. While the journey may seem arduous, remember the reward is a definition of success that truly resonates with you. So, let's begin our exploration of the psychology of success and discover how to unlock your full potential for a truly meaningful and fulfilling life. The pursuit of external success, as we've seen, can often feel like chasing a mirage, leaving us thirsting for something more profound. The accolades, the wealth, the power they may offer fleeting moments of satisfaction, but they often fail to quench the deeper longing for meaning and purpose. We see the celebrity with millions of dollars, legions of fans, and every conceivable luxury, yet they are battling depression and addiction. We hear of the CEO who built a business empire, only to find themselves isolated and unfulfilled in their golden years. Is this the success we truly desire? The treadmill analogy serves as a potent reminder of the illusory nature of external achievement. We strive tirelessly, expending immense energy, only to find ourselves in the same place, perpetually chasing the next milestone. Someone gets a promotion, only to want a better promotion, ad infinitum, and once they have it, they will want something more, and something more after that. Consider the graduate who lands their dream job, right out of college, only to discover that the reality of the work is tedious, uninspiring, and soul-crushing. The question that inevitably arises, even upon achieving these conventional milestones, is, what then? What is the ultimate purpose of all this striving if it doesn't lead to lasting happiness and fulfillment? Perhaps the problem isn't with success itself, but with our definition of it. Maybe true success lies not in what we achieve, but in who we become. Enter Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who profoundly impacted our understanding of the human psyche. Jung offered a radically different perspective on success, framing it as a journey of individuation, a lifelong process of integrating conscious and unconscious aspects of the self to achieve wholeness and self-realization. Individuation, in this context, is not about conforming to societal expectations or achieving external validation. It is about embracing our unique potential, integrating our shadow, and aligning with our true selves. Therefore, true success is not a fixed point to be reached, but an ongoing process of self-discovery and personal growth. It's a journey inward, a quest to understand our deepest motivations, our hidden fears, and our untapped potential. Without inner work, outer success is hollow, a gilded cage that imprisons the soul. This reframes success as something you can always do, always achieve, so long as you are working on yourself. When you know who you are, you can get what you want. This is why success must begin from within. In the Jungian view, archetypes play a crucial role in our journey toward success. These universal, primordial patterns of behavior and experience reside in the collective unconscious, shaping our thoughts, feelings, and actions in profound ways. Think of the hero, the mother, the sage, the trickster. These are archetypal figures that resonate across cultures and throughout history, embodying fundamental aspects of the human experience. However, these archetypes are not always benevolent guides. They can also act as obstacles, hindering our progress and leading us astray if we are not aware of their influence. They are unconscious patterns operating without awareness. Consider the pure eterness, eternal child archetype, characterized by an avoidance of responsibility and commitment, a fear of growing up and facing the challenges of adult life. Or the senex, wise old man archetype, which can manifest as excessive rigidity and control, a resistance to change, and a clinging to tradition. These archetypes, when unconscious, can sabotage our efforts to achieve success in various areas of life. On the other hand, the hero archetype can empower us to overcome obstacles, embrace challenges, and achieve our goals. By connecting with this archetypal energy, we can tap into our inner strength, resilience, and determination. It's not about becoming a superhero or achieving extraordinary feats. It's about facing our fears, embracing our vulnerability, and striving to become the best version of ourselves. Now, you may be thinking, how do I know which archetypes are influencing me? By becoming aware of the archetypes influencing us, we can consciously choose how to embody them. What thoughts and feelings do you experience when facing challenges? Do you tend to avoid responsibility or embrace it? Are you open to new ideas or resistant to change? These are the questions that can unlock self-awareness and empower us to harness the archetypal energies that support our journey toward success. Awareness changes everything. In essence, individuation and archetypal awareness can redefine success as an inner journey toward wholeness and fulfillment, rather than an external pursuit of wealth, fame, or power. However, there's a part of ourselves that we often ignore, deny, or repress, a part that holds immense power, both for good and for ill. What could this part be? It's our shadow self. The shadow is the unconscious aspect of the personality that contains repressed or disowned qualities. This can include negative traits, such as anger, greed, and selfishness, as well as positive ones, such as creativity, intuition, and assertiveness. But here's what most people miss. The archetypes aren't bad. They are unconscious patterns operating without awareness. This alleviates viewer fear of the shadow, so that integration can begin. So, can embracing our shadow be the key to unlocking our true potential and achieving a more authentic and fulfilling form of success. This raises the intriguing question of whether what we've been taught about success is not just incomplete, but dangerously misleading. In the next section, we'll delve into the depths of the shadow and discover its hidden treasures and its potential to transform our lives. So, can embracing our shadow be the key to unlocking our true potential and achieving a more authentic and fulfilling form of success? This raises the intriguing question of whether what we've been taught about success is not just incomplete, but dangerously misleading, for it neglects the hidden depths within ourselves. The shadow self, that often feared and misunderstood aspect of our personality, holds the very key to unlocking the potential we never knew we possessed. But how can that be? How can the parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable actually hold the key to success? Let us begin by defining the shadow. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is the unconscious aspect of the personality that contains repressed or disowned qualities. These are the traits, emotions, and impulses that we have rejected or deemed unacceptable, both by ourselves and by society. Often, these are the aspects of ourselves that we are ashamed of, that we try to hide from the world, and even from ourselves. Perhaps you've been told you are too ambitious, too loud, too sensitive, too anything. What society deems acceptable might not unlock the true potential of the individual and might be the opposite. We must remember that the shadow is not inherently evil. It simply contains aspects of ourselves that are incompatible with our conscious self-image. Consider the analogy of a musical instrument, say, a guitar. This guitar is capable of producing beautiful melodies, evoking a wide range of emotions, and expressing complex musical ideas. However, if this guitar sits untouched in its case, its potential remains unrealized. The strings may be perfectly tuned, the wood may be exquisitely crafted, but without being played, the guitar is just an object, a collection of unrealized possibilities. Similarly, we all have unrealized potential lying dormant within us. We may be scared to use these parts, to touch them, and to bring forth the song that they are meant to play. Here lies the paradox of the shadow. The very qualities we reject in ourselves may hold the key to unlocking our true potential and achieving a more authentic form of success. The ambition we suppress for fear of being seen as ruthless, the assertiveness we stifle for fear of being labeled aggressive, the vulnerability we hide for fear of being judged weak, these may be the very qualities that can propel us toward our goals and allow us to create a more fulfilling life. It's not about becoming our shadow, but about integrating it, bringing it into the light of consciousness so that we can harness its energy and wisdom. To truly understand the shadow, we must delve deeper into its dual nature. It is not simply a repository of negative traits and impulses. It also contains positive qualities that we have disowned. Jung called the mask we wear the persona, and this, too, affects our shadow. The shadow isn't just negative. It includes both negative, e.g., anger, greed, envy, selfishness, doubt, and positive, e.g., creativity, intuition, assertiveness, independence qualities. The persona is the social mask we wear to conform to societal expectations, leading us to repress aspects of ourselves that don't fit the mold. We project our shadows onto others, seeing our own disowned qualities in those around us. The person who is constantly critical of others may be projecting their own self-criticism. The person who is quick to anger may be projecting their own suppressed rage. And the person who is overly judgmental may be projecting their own feelings of inadequacy. However, here is what most people miss. The archetypes aren't bad. They are unconscious patterns operating without awareness. This alleviates viewer fear of the shadow so that integration can begin. To neglect or deny the shadow has profound consequences. It leads to stuckness, inauthenticity, internal conflict, self-sabotage, and a diminished sense of wholeness. Those feelings of inner emptiness and lack of purpose are directly connected with shadow neglect. When we disown parts of ourselves, we become fragmented, disconnected from our true selves, and unable to access our full potential. By neglecting these parts of the self, we are in fact limiting our success. Consider the analogy of a dark room in a house to represent the shadow. As long as it remains unlit, it can be a source of fear and anxiety. We may imagine all sorts of monsters lurking in the shadows, and we may be afraid to even enter the room. But once the lights are turned on, the room can be explored, and its contents can be understood and integrated. We may find that the room contains not monsters, but forgotten treasures, valuable tools, and untapped resources. What if this dark room was a library, full of stories and knowledge that you never knew existed? Fortunately, there are real-world examples of successful individuals who have embraced their shadow qualities and achieved extraordinary things. Take, for example, the character of Batman. On the surface, he's a billionaire philanthropist. Dig deeper, and you'll find a man motivated by trauma, anger, and a thirst for vengeance. Batman uses his dark qualities to bring justice to the world, channeling his pain into a force for good. He doesn't deny his shadow. He embraces it and uses it to fuel his mission. Or consider the anti-hero trope in fiction. Villains who are self-aware and use their evil for good become some of the most beloved characters in fiction. Why? Because they represent the integration of the shadow self, the ability to harness the darkness for a greater purpose. We can also see examples of shadow integration in literary archetypes, such as the Byronic hero. Think of Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights or Mr. Rochester from Jane Eyre. These characters possess both charm and darkness, and their flaws contribute to their appeal. They are not perfect heroes, but complex individuals who grapple with their inner demons. Their struggles and triumphs resonate with us because they reflect our own internal battles. They show that we, too, can be loved and accepted despite our flaws and imperfections. Jung writes, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." This highlights the importance of bringing the shadow into conscious awareness, rather than allowing it to fester in the darkness of the unconscious. When we embrace our shadow, we become more whole, more authentic, and more capable of achieving our full potential. To further illustrate this point, consider a hypothetical case study. Sarah, a successful businesswoman, feels unfulfilled despite her external achievements. She is driven, ambitious, and highly competitive, but she also struggles with feelings of guilt and emptiness. Through therapy, she realizes that she has disowned her more vulnerable and compassionate side, fearing that it would make her appear weak. By integrating these disowned qualities, she becomes a more balanced and authentic leader and experiences a deeper sense of fulfillment. What if Sarah was you? So to briefly summarize, the shadow is the unconscious aspect of the personality containing repressed qualities, both positive and negative. Neglecting the shadow leads to stuckness, inauthenticity, and self-sabotage. Embracing the shadow, on the other hand, allows us to become more whole, authentic, and capable of achieving our full potential. So, how do we move from understanding the shadow to actually integrating it into our conscious lives? The benefits of shadow integration include increased self-awareness, authenticity, creativity, energy, and a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. Integrating the shadow doesn't mean becoming evil. It means reclaiming disowned aspects of yourself to become whole. This offers an understanding of practical wholeness, of being one complete being, working towards one goal. Shadow integration can lead to greater resilience, emotional intelligence, and the ability to navigate life's challenges with more grace and authenticity. However, what are the specific techniques and practices we can use to bring the unconscious shadow into conscious awareness and integrate it into our lives? The answer to this will unlock parts of yourself you never knew existed. In the next section, we'll explore practical techniques for shadow integration, including journaling, dream analysis, active imagination, and working with a therapist or counselor. We've established why shadow integration is crucial, but now let's explore how to actually do it. For intellectual understanding alone will not unlock the life-altering potential residing within your shadow. Are you ready to move beyond theory and finally embrace the practical steps that can lead to wholeness and authentic success? Shadow integration techniques are tools for exploring the inner landscape and bringing unconscious material into conscious awareness, similar to a psychological explorer's toolkit. Just as a physical explorer needs maps and tools, we need mental maps and techniques to explore our inner world. Consider each method a compass or a guide to help you navigate the unknown terrains of your unconscious mind. This journey will require patience, persistence, and a willingness to confront the uncomfortable truths that lie hidden within, as shadow integration is a gradual, ongoing process, not a quick fix or a one-time event. It takes time, effort, and patience to be introspective, to truly look within and acknowledge the aspects of ourselves that we have long suppressed or denied. The process can be uncomfortable and challenging, but the rewards are worth the effort. Normalizing discomfort makes it less scary, and it's vital to recognize that encountering resistance is a natural part of the process. It's a signal that you're approaching material that holds significant potential for growth. Think of it like physical exercise. You'll experience muscle soreness as you push your limits, but this is how you grow stronger. Similarly, in shadow work, emotional discomfort indicates that you are stretching your psychological boundaries and expanding your capacity for self-acceptance. Journaling can be used to identify and explore shadow qualities by providing a safe space for uncensored self-expression, acting as a mirror reflecting the unconscious. It's a space where you can be honest with yourself without fear of judgment or reprisal. By writing freely and openly, you allow the unconscious to express itself, revealing hidden patterns and beliefs that may be influencing your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. But what are some specific questions to consider in the journal? Consider these journaling prompts to help you identify and explore your shadow. What qualities do I dislike or judge most harshly in others? This question is based on the principle that what irritates us most in others often reflects qualities we disown in ourselves. What situations trigger my strongest needs, emotions, e.g., anger, envy, shame? These emotional triggers can point to underlying shadow issues that need to be addressed. What aspects of myself do I try to hide or deny? These hidden aspects are prime candidates for shadow integration. But how can we use journaling to uncover our shadow traits and recognize our repressed aspects? Consider this hypothetical journal entry. Today, I found myself getting incredibly angry at a colleague for being disorganized and unreliable. I judged him harshly and felt a sense of superiority because I pride myself on being so organized. But then, I started to wonder why I was so triggered by his behavior. I realized that deep down, I fear being seen as incompetent or out of control. I secretly worry that I'm not as organized as I appear to be, and I project this fear onto my colleague. I realize that I am secretly afraid of being judged myself, so I become overly critical of others as a defense mechanism. This demonstrates how to explore a shadow quality, realizing that a strong negative reaction to someone else can be a reflection of an inner fear or insecurity. What patterns are revealed in the hypothetical journal entry? The goal of journaling is not to judge oneself, but to observe patterns and gain insights into the unconscious mind and the core belief that generates the pattern. The key is to approach your journal entries with curiosity and self-compassion rather than self-criticism. Look for recurring themes, emotional triggers, and patterns of behavior. Ask yourself what underlying beliefs might be driving these patterns. Over time, you'll begin to see your shadow qualities more clearly and understand how they are influencing your life. What if those shadow qualities were actually an underdeveloped strength? Dreams can provide valuable insights into the shadow, as they often express aspects of the personality that are repressed or disowned in waking life. Dreams tell us the truth, whether we want to hear it or not. They bypass the conscious mind's defenses and reveal the raw, unfiltered content of the unconscious. By paying attention to our dreams, we can gain access to hidden aspects of ourselves that may be influencing our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. But how can we use our dreams to decipher the hidden meanings of the shadow? To begin, one must recognize basic dream interpretation principles, such as recognizing recurring symbols, identifying the emotions associated with dream figures, and paying attention to the overall narrative of the dream. Recurring symbols in dreams often represent archetypal figures or themes. For example, water may symbolize emotions, fire may symbolize transformation, and animals may symbolize instinctual drives. The emotions associated with dream figures can provide clues about your relationship to those figures in your waking life. The overall narrative of the dream can reveal underlying conflicts or unresolved issues. Dreams about showing up late to class symbolizes anxiety of being unprepared or not measuring up to societal expectations. What if the dream symbols weren't random and spoke directly to the problems you struggle with in waking life? Shadow figures often appear in dreams as threatening or unpleasant characters, representing disowned aspects of the dreamer's personality. These figures may embody traits that you dislike or fear in yourself, such as aggression, selfishness, or vulnerability. They may also represent people in your life who trigger strong negative emotions. Engaging with these figures in your dreams can be a way to confront and integrate these disowned aspects of yourself. Consider the example. If you are dreaming of being chased, what are you running from in your waking life? Keep a dream journal and try interpreting your dreams using Jungian principles, focusing on the symbolic meaning of the dream figures and events. Write down your dreams as soon as you wake up, paying attention to the details, emotions, and symbols. Then, use Jungian principles to interpret the dream figures and events, asking yourself what aspects of your personality they might represent. Don't be afraid to explore the darker, more unpleasant aspects of your dreams. These are often the most revealing. If you are afraid to look within, how will you ever know the true nature of your shadow? But what happens when you want to dive even deeper? Active imagination is a Jungian technique for consciously engaging with the unconscious through directed imagery and dialogue. It's a conscious dream, a waking vision, where you actively interact with the contents of your unconscious mind. This technique can be a powerful tool for exploring and integrating shadow qualities. However, unlike regular daydreaming, active imagination requires a focused and intentional approach, creating a bridge between the conscious and unconscious realms. The process of active imagination involves entering a relaxed state, focusing on an image or feeling, and allowing the unconscious to express itself through spontaneous imagery, dialogue, and emotions. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, close your eyes, and focus on a specific image or feeling that arises from your unconscious. It could be a dream figure, a memory, or simply a random image. Allow your imagination to unfold spontaneously without censoring or judging the images and emotions that arise. Engage with the images, figures, and emotions as if they were real, asking them questions and listening to their responses. For example, picture a door and opening it to see what is inside, and allow the contents of the room to unfold before you. What if what you found beyond that door was your destiny? Active imagination can be used to engage in a dialogue with shadow figures, asking them questions, understanding their motivations, and integrating their qualities into the conscious personality. Don't be afraid to engage with figures, as they only represent a part of yourself. Ask them what they want, what they fear, and what they have to offer. Listen to their responses with an open mind and a willingness to understand. By engaging in a dialogue with your shadow figures, you can begin to integrate their qualities into your conscious personality, becoming more whole and authentic. But is there anything to fear in this meeting of the minds? It is important to approach active imagination with ethical awareness, avoiding harmful or destructive imagery, and seeking guidance from a therapist or counselor if needed. This is a potent technique that can bring powerful unconscious material to the surface. It's crucial to approach it with respect, responsibility, and a clear understanding of your own psychological boundaries. If you have a history of trauma or mental health issues, it's essential to work with a trained therapist or counselor who can guide you through the process safely and effectively. Why is safety so important, and what could happen if it's ignored? To briefly recap the shadow integration techniques we've discussed, journaling, dream analysis, and active imagination are tools that can help unlock inner potential. By embracing our shadow, we embrace our full humanity and unlock our true potential. This allows for inner and intuitive understanding. What are the limits of our potential if we are constantly fighting ourselves? Shadow integration can be a challenging and ongoing process. It is similar to training a muscle. It takes time. Be patient with yourself, and don't get discouraged if you encounter resistance or setbacks along the way. The journey of shadow integration is a lifelong process of self-discovery and growth. But is it worth the time and struggle? So, how do we make shadow integration a regular practice and continue on our journey toward wholeness and authenticity? And what are the next steps we can take to further integrate the shadow into our daily life? In the next section, we'll explore how to incorporate shadow work into our relationships, our work, and our creative endeavors, and the astonishing benefits that come with it. We've explored shadow integration techniques as tools for self-discovery. But what if the true power lies not in isolated exercises, but in weaving shadow work into the very fabric of our daily existence? What if shadow integration isn't just something we do, but something we become? Shifting from technique to mindset marks a fundamental change in our relationship with the shadow. It is a continuous practice of self-awareness, fostering an attitude of acceptance rather than a frantic search for a quick fix. This isn't about adding another item to your to-do list. It's about transforming how you perceive and respond to the world around you. Just as opportunities to feed yourself arise throughout the day, opportunities to address the shadow present themselves constantly. Every interaction, every challenge, every strong emotion is a potential doorway into the unconscious. Did a colleague's comment spark unexpected anger? Perhaps it's reflecting a disowned ambition or insecurity. Are you consistently annoyed by a friend's neediness? It might be pointing to your own suppressed desire for connection and validation. Like a psychological scavenger hunt, the moments to learn more about yourself are all around you. What if your triggers aren't obstacles, but rather signposts on the path to wholeness? It's vital to normalize the experience of encountering our shadow, rather than viewing shadow moments as failures or setbacks. They are neither. Experiencing irritation, envy, or even rage is an intrinsic part of being human. The key lies in recognizing these moments as opportunities for growth and integration. Rather than suppressing or judging these feelings, we can approach them with curiosity and compassion. Think of it as a check engine light illuminating on your car's dashboard, indicating that something needs attention. This illuminates a part of you that requires healing. How can we transform shame into self-acceptance, and what surprising strengths might lie hidden within our perceived weaknesses? The discipline of shadow work can be looked at as an important, yet tedious, daily ritual. Consider it akin to brushing your teeth, a small, consistent act that yields significant long-term benefits. You wouldn't skip brushing your teeth for weeks, expecting a single, intense session to compensate. Likewise, sporadic shadow work won't yield the same transformative results as a consistent, mindful approach. Shadow integration is not a destination, but rather an ongoing journey, a continuous process of self-discovery and growth. By committing to this practice, we cultivate a deeper understanding of ourselves and our motivations, fostering greater authenticity and fulfillment. What if integrating your shadow was the most important task you faced each day? But how do we transition from simply understanding this concept to actively applying it in our lives? How do we cultivate the ability to recognize and interpret shadow triggers in real time, transforming fleeting reactions into profound moments of self-awareness? Developing a shadow radar is the key. Consider it a psychological early warning system, alerting you to the presence of unconscious material-seeking expression. It's about tuning into your emotional landscape, becoming more attuned to the subtle shifts in your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that signal the activation of shadow qualities. Developing a shadow radar allows the viewer to become acutely aware of the feelings they are feeling in the moment. To effectively use this shadow radar, one must be able to identify triggers. Specific situations, people, or even seemingly innocuous comments can act as triggers, activating shadow qualities and leading to negative reactions or emotions. A critical remark from a boss might trigger feelings of inadequacy rooted in a deep-seated fear of failure. A friend's success might spark envy, exposing a disowned ambition or a lack of self-belief. Recognize that triggers are intensely personal and often linked to our deepest insecurities and unmet needs. Like detectives searching for clues, we must examine our triggers to uncover the hidden truths about ourselves. Can we really understand ourselves without understanding our triggers? Reactions to triggers aren't always rational, and sometimes they are even explosive. The manifestation of reactions can be emotional, mental, or even physical. An emotional reaction might involve feeling overwhelmed with anger, sadness, or anxiety. A mental reaction might manifest as obsessive thoughts, negative self-talk, or distorted perceptions. A physical reaction might involve tension headaches, digestive issues, or other stress-related symptoms. Becoming aware of these different types of reactions is crucial for developing our shadow radar and interpreting the messages from our unconscious. If our triggers hold such important messages, how can we decipher the secret language of our emotional responses? When a trigger occurs, the goal isn't to suppress the reaction, but rather to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what is it about this situation, person, or comment that is bothering me so much? Dig deeper, questioning whether this reaction points to a disowned aspect of yourself. Is the person embodying a quality you secretly possess or fear? Is the situation highlighting a vulnerability you've been trying to avoid? This is not about judging yourself, but about gathering information, like a scientist observing a phenomenon. Remember that pausing and reflecting creates space for conscious awareness, and that it prevents impulsive behavior that could harm yourself or others. Are you strong enough to stop and truly look within? It is through the careful and skillful dissection of the shadow that self-compassion can arise. But what happens when shadow integration extends beyond the individual and begins to influence our relationships with others? How does shadow integration improve our relationships? And can this integration truly lead to more authentic connections with those around us? Shadow integration enhances self-compassion, fostering a kinder, more understanding inner dialogue. Acknowledging that everyone carries a shadow enables us to extend that compassion to others, recognizing their imperfections and struggles as part of the shared human experience. Understanding that everyone has a shadow is key to generating compassion. This newfound self-compassion ripples outwards, transforming our relationships with others. As we become more aware of our own projections, we're less likely to blame others for our shortcomings, leading to greater empathy and understanding. We begin to see others not as perfect beings, but as fellow travelers on the path to wholeness, each grappling with their own shadows. As the projections fade, people are seen for who they are, not what the ego has prescribed. When we accept our own flaws, we become more accepting of others' imperfections. What would it be like to release your projections and accept everyone for who they are? Furthermore, individuals who have integrated their shadow are better equipped to handle conflict constructively. They can communicate their needs assertively without resorting to aggression or defensiveness, fostering open and honest dialogue. They are less likely to take things personally, recognizing that others' reactions often reflect their own internal struggles. They can hold space for differing perspectives, seeking to understand rather than to judge. Integrated people take responsibility for their actions. Conflict becomes an opportunity for growth and connection, rather than a battleground for egos. Can conflict actually be healthy and bring people closer together? Shadow integration, ultimately, is the secret ingredient for creating authentic and fulfilling connections. As we become more willing to show our true selves, flaws and all, we create space for others to do the same. This vulnerability builds trust, fostering deeper intimacy and genuine connection. Authentic relationships are not built on perfection, but on the shared understanding of our human imperfections. This creates relationships built to last. What if true connection requires embracing the darkness within ourselves and others? If the shadow can create authentic connections with other people, can the shadow also show us our authentic path? If our true self is calling to us, is the shadow a map that shows us the way? By understanding the true self, one is able to more accurately define success. The shadow can act as a compass, guiding us toward our true values and purpose by revealing what we truly desire and fear, and not what society dictates. Embracing our shadow is not about indulging in negativity or succumbing to our worst impulses. It's about gaining clarity on what truly matters to us, allowing us to make conscious choices that align with our authentic selves. The shadow shows us what we are secretly running away from. The recognition of our deepest fears allows us to act accordingly and push ourselves forward. But what would happen if our motivation came from our authentic self? Authentic success isn't about achieving external goals, but about living in alignment with our values and purpose. It's about pursuing goals that resonate with our deepest selves, rather than chasing after societal approval or material wealth. When our actions align with our values, we experience a sense of inner peace and fulfillment, regardless of external outcomes. After all, what is success if you are not aligned with your authentic self? Moreover, embracing our shadow can fuel our motivation and inspire us to pursue our goals with greater passion and resilience. When we acknowledge and integrate our shadow qualities, we unlock hidden reserves of energy and creativity. We become less afraid of failure, as we recognize that setbacks are simply opportunities for growth and learning. We develop a greater sense of self-acceptance, allowing us to persevere through challenges with unwavering determination. Since we are going after our true self, our shadow will guide us along the path. But what if the greatest treasure lies not in overcoming our shadow, but in understanding it? The integration of the shadow is not the end of the journey, but rather a critical step toward living a more authentic and fulfilling life. As we continue on this path, we begin to see how archetypes further illuminate our individual journeys, revealing the universal patterns that shape our experiences. As we near the end of this exploration, prepare to discover how these ancient, powerful forces can guide us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world, helping us unlock the secrets to true and lasting success. Section 1. ARCHETYPES as DOBLEDGDSWORDS. Unconscious PATTRNS that shape our destiny. Imagine your life as a vast ocean, and you, the ship's captain, charting your course toward success. But what if unseen currents, powerful and unrelenting, were subtly influencing your direction, pushing you off course without your knowledge? These currents are the archetypes, universal patterns of behavior residing deep within the collective unconscious, exerting a profound influence on our lives, often operating beneath the level of conscious awareness. Like gravity, they are always present, shaping our thoughts, feelings, and actions, whether we realize it or not. But how can we become aware of these hidden forces that shape our very destinies? When we remain ignorant of the archetypes at play within us, we become puppets of our unconscious, blindly reacting to inner impulses and external events. This can lead to self-sabotaging behaviors, limiting beliefs, and a distorted sense of self, preventing us from achieving our full potential. Like a ship without a rudder, we are tossed and turned by the waves of the unconscious, never truly in control of our direction. Consider the person driven by the perfectionist archetype, constantly striving for flawlessness in every endeavor. While a desire for excellence can be admirable, an unconscious attachment to perfection can become paralyzing. This individual may become so fixated on avoiding mistakes that they become incapable of taking risks, stifling their creativity and preventing them from ever truly pursuing their goals. How can we avoid becoming slaves to these unseen forces within our own minds? Awareness, therefore, is the key to transforming these unconscious patterns into conscious choices. By shining the light of awareness on the archetypes influencing us, we can learn to harness their positive potential and mitigate their negative effects. We transform from passive recipients of fate to active agents of our own destiny, navigating the ocean of life with skill and intention. Relate this to driving a car. When we're unaware, we crash, but when we become aware, we are in control. Like a skilled driver, we can anticipate the curves in the road, adjust our speed, and steer ourselves toward our desired destination. Are you ready to take the wheel and navigate your own life with conscious intention? To understand how archetypes can both help and hinder our journey toward success, let's delve into some specific examples and explore their influence on our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Section 2. Exploring key archetypes and their influence on the path to success. Consider the hero, that archetype of courage and determination, forever striving to overcome obstacles and achieve greatness. In its positive manifestation, the hero embodies courage, determination, and resilience, inspiring us to push beyond our limits and fight for our dreams. It fuels our ambition, ignites our passion, and empowers us to conquer seemingly insurmountable challenges. But what happens when the hero archetype becomes distorted or inflated? The hero can become reckless, arrogant, and prone to burnout. Blinded by their own ambition, they may disregard the needs of others, sacrifice their well-being, and ultimately crash and burn in their relentless pursuit of glory. Then there is the shadow, representing the disowned aspects of the personality, the dark side of our nature that we often try to suppress or deny. While often perceived as negative, the shadow holds immense potential for both sabotage and success. Integrated with conscious awareness, it is a secret weapon. Embracing the shadow can unlock authenticity, creativity, and a fierce sense of passion. It allows us to reclaim our repressed desires, embrace our imperfections, and express our true selves without fear or shame. However, when the shadow remains unconscious, it can manifest as self-sabotage, destructive impulses, and feelings of worthlessness. Like a hidden virus, it can undermine our efforts, poison our relationships, and sabotage our chances of success, leading us down a path of darkness and despair. Another archetype to consider is the sage, the wise and knowledgeable seeker of truth. In its positive form, the sage embodies intelligence, insight, and strategic thinking, guiding us toward clarity and understanding. It empowers us to analyze situations objectively, make informed decisions, and develop innovative solutions to complex problems. However, the sage can also become trapped in analysis paralysis, overthinking every detail and failing to take decisive action. They may become detached from reality, lost in a world of abstract theories and intellectual speculation, and their intellectual arrogance may alienate others, hindering their ability to collaborate and build meaningful relationships. Finally, we have the trickster, that mischievous archetype who challenges the status quo and embraces chaos. The trickster is a double-edged sword. The trickster's positive qualities include creativity, adaptability, and a wicked sense of humor. It inspires us to think outside the box, question conventional wisdom, and embrace change. But the trickster can also be irresponsible, impulsive, and manipulative, wreaking havoc on our lives and the lives of others. They may engage in reckless behavior, disregard rules and boundaries, and prioritize short-term gratification over long-term consequences. Is it possible to harness the power of chaos without succumbing to its destructive potential? Section 3. Archetypal examples in mythology, literature, and life. The hero's journey, a narrative framework found in countless myths and stories around the world, provides a powerful illustration of how these archetypes manifest in action. The hero begins with a call to adventure, a challenge or opportunity that sets them on their path, but along the way they encounter the shadow, the antagonist or obstacle that they must overcome. They are guided by the mentor, the wise figure who provides wisdom and support, and they are tested by the threshold guardian, the obstacle that challenges their worthiness. This journey is the ultimate test. In mythology, we see these archetypes embodied by legendary figures. Odysseus, the hero of Homer's Odyssey, exemplifies the courage and cunning needed to overcome numerous obstacles, but his pride and arrogance often led him astray, delaying his return home and endangering his crew. Conversely, Icarus, the son of Daedalus, represents the shadow archetype, whose ambition and desire for freedom led him to fly too close to the sun, resulting in his tragic downfall. His story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the importance of heeding wise counsel. But do these stories hold timeless truths about the human condition? Literature provides equally compelling examples. Hamlet, the introspective prince of Denmark, embodies the sage archetype, whose intellectual depth and philosophical musings made him a great thinker, but whose indecisiveness and overthinking ultimately led to tragedy. On the other hand, Sherlock Holmes, with his razor-sharp intellect and unconventional methods, embodies a blend of the sage and trickster archetypes. His intelligence allowed him to solve seemingly impossible crimes, but his arrogance and social awkwardness often hindered his ability to connect with others on a human level. But how can fictional characters teach us about ourselves? Real-life examples abound as well. Steve Jobs, the visionary co-founder of Apple, embodied both the hero and trickster archetypes. His vision and determination revolutionized the tech industry, but his ruthlessness and disregard for others often created conflict and resentment, leaving a trail of broken relationships in his wake. His success came at a price. Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, embodies the sage archetype. His intellect allowed him to lead the way in personal computing. However, many people resented Microsoft and Windows for the impact that they had on the world. What can we learn from the lives of these extraordinary, yet flawed, individuals? Section 4. Synthesis and Transition. Consciously harnessing archetypal ENERGIS for authentic success. To recap, we've explored the hero, shadow, sage, and trickster archetypes, each with its own unique set of strengths and weaknesses. These archetypes can profoundly impact our journey toward success, either propelling us forward or holding us back, depending on our level of awareness and our conscious choices. The key takeaway here is the importance of becoming aware of the archetypes influencing our lives and making conscious choices about how to embody them. We have to be in control. By harnessing the positive qualities of archetypes while mitigating their negative effects, we can unlock our full potential and create a life that is not only successful but also deeply meaningful and fulfilling. Embrace the hero's courage without becoming reckless. Integrate the shadow's authenticity without succumbing to destructive impulses. Cultivate the sage's wisdom without falling into analysis paralysis. Channel the trickster's creativity without sacrificing responsibility. By consciously working with archetypes, we can unlock our full potential and create a life that is not only successful but also deeply meaningful and fulfilling. But before we conclude, let's explore one final piece of the puzzle, aligning our archetypal energies with our core values and life purpose. By consciously working with archetypes, we can unlock our full potential and create a life that is not only successful but also deeply meaningful and fulfilling. But is it possible that our understanding of archetypes is still just scratching the surface, and that we are overlooking a far deeper secret regarding our authentic purpose? Section 1. The compass within. Aligning with values and purpose for authentic success, even with a map of the archetypal landscape and a willingness to confront the shadow self. The path to true north remains obscured until one's actions are a true reflection of their innermost values. Society often bombards us with prepackaged notions of success, wealth, status, power, But these external measures can often lead us astray from our authentic purpose. What happens when we diligently follow the map, conquer our inner demons, only to arrive at a destination that leaves us feeling empty and unfulfilled? Is the reward truly worth the journey? Consider the successful lawyer, partner at a prestigious firm, earning a 7-figure income, yet dreading each Monday morning, finding no joy in the endless cycle of billable hours and corporate battles. Their external achievements may impress society, but inwardly, a gnawing sense of dissatisfaction persists. In stark contrast, imagine someone who dedicates their life to running a dog shelter, barely scraping by financially, but waking up each day with a sense of purpose and fulfillment, surrounded by unconditional love and making a tangible difference in the lives of animals. Which individual, despite their differing circumstances, is truly successful? But how does one discern their own true calling amidst the cacophony of external expectations? Unexamined, should societal, familial, cultural often drown out the quiet voice of the authentic self, creating an echo chamber of borrowed desires and misplaced ambitions. We are told what to want, what to strive for, what to value, often without ever questioning whether these external dictates truly resonate with our inner being. Someone might feel obligated to join the family business, carrying on a legacy that stretches back generations, despite harboring a deep passion for art, music, or some other seemingly impractical pursuit. They spend their whole life making money for the family business, while feeling empty inside. How can one quiet the noise and truly hear the whisper of their own soul? Section 2. Uncovering Your True North. Techniques for values clarification and authentic living. One often overlooked process is that of consciously identifying and prioritizing what truly matters, a crucial step in defining success on one's own terms as opposed to another's. This process transcends surface-level affirmations and delves into a deep excavation of the soul, unearthing the values that truly resonate with our deepest selves. It's about moving beyond what we think we should value to uncover what we actually value, regardless of external pressures or societal expectations. This is a path of self-determination, not a passive acceptance of external norms. What then are some practical techniques for embarking on this journey of self-discovery? One useful tool is the values inventory, structured assessments designed to help reveal our core values. These inventories typically present a list of values: honesty, creativity, service, security, adventure, and so on, and ask us to rank them in order of importance. These assessments can provide valuable insights into our priorities and help us identify patterns in our decision-making processes. Taking a values inventory test is a simple yet powerful way to gain clarity about what truly matters to us. These tests are available online, often free of charge, and can be completed in a matter of minutes. By consciously ranking these values, we begin to bring them into the light of awareness, allowing us to make more intentional choices aligned with our authentic selves. Yet, sometimes the most profound insights come from exploring those values that feel shameful or forbidden, those shadow values that clash with our ideal self-image. We often suppress these values because they don't align with how we want to be perceived, but in doing so, we deny ourselves access to a vital source of energy and motivation. Someone who values ambition might feel ashamed of their desire for power or recognition, particularly if they were raised in a family that emphasized humility and selflessness. This suppression can lead to feelings of guilt, anxiety, and a sense of being inauthentic. However, embracing this ambition, channeling it in a constructive way, can lead to great achievements and a profound sense of personal fulfillment. The question then becomes, how do we safely explore and integrate these shadow values? Another powerful technique involves peak experience recall, examining moments of intense joy, flow, or fulfillment to identify the underlying values that were being expressed. What activities make time disappear? What experiences leave you feeling energized and alive? These moments often provide clues to our core values, revealing what truly matters to us on a subconscious level. To do this, take a moment to reflect on a time when you felt truly alive, fully engaged, and deeply fulfilled. Write down the details of the experience, paying attention to the emotions you felt, the activities you were engaged in, and the people you were with. Then ask yourself, what values were being expressed in that moment? What was it about that experience that made it so meaningful? Finally, it's crucial to understand where we get our values: family, media, social circles, and to actively sift through and decide to return them if they are not our own. From a young age, we are bombarded with messages about what we should value, what we should believe, and how we should live our lives. Recognizing these external influences is the first step in reclaiming our autonomy and aligning with our authentic selves. Someone raised in a conservative household might later question those beliefs and reject them, embracing a more liberal worldview. This process of questioning and reevaluating our values is essential for personal growth and self-discovery. How then do we distinguish between our own values and those that have been imposed upon us? Section 3. Walking the Talk. EXAMPLES of VALUSDRIVN lives and lasting impact. To illustrate the profound impact of values-driven living, let's consider a few compelling examples of individuals who have made a lasting difference in the world by aligning their actions with their deepest beliefs. These are people who understood what they valued and lived it. Rosa Parks' refusal to give up her seat on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, wasn't a calculated act of defiance, but a spontaneous expression of her deeply held values of equality and dignity. In that moment, she wasn't thinking about making history. She was simply acting in accordance with her unwavering belief that all people deserve to be treated with respect and fairness. Her act of defiance ignited the civil rights movement and transformed the course of history, demonstrating the power of values as an everyday practice, rather than a lofty ideal. She valued equality, and she acted on it. Similarly, consider the countless whistleblowers who risk everything: their careers, their reputations, even their personal safety to expose wrongdoing, driven by a fierce commitment to justice and integrity. Edward Snowden, for example, faced immense personal cost for exposing government surveillance programs, but he felt compelled to act in accordance with his conscience. These individuals understand that some things are more important than personal gain, and they are willing to sacrifice everything to uphold their values. Despite the risks, the results of their actions have been worth it, exposing corruption and holding powerful institutions accountable. What drives these individuals to make such extraordinary sacrifices? Then there's Vincent van Gogh, the tormented artist whose unwavering dedication to his artistic vision, despite facing poverty, rejection, and mental illness, ultimately led to his posthumous recognition as one of the greatest painters of all time. He valued self-expression above all else, even societal acceptance, even sanity itself. He refused to compromise his artistic vision, even when it meant living in squalor and being ostracized by society. His life serves as a powerful testament to the enduring power of art and the importance of staying true to one's creative calling. Van Gogh's story exemplifies the idea that true success may not be recognized in one's lifetime, but it can still have a profound impact on the world. He painted his values and continues to inspire people. Finally, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, leaving his life of riches to pursue his spiritual goals, is a prime example of walking away from societal values to achieve personal ones. He renounced his privileged life, embraced poverty, and embarked on a quest for enlightenment, ultimately transforming himself into a spiritual leader whose teachings continue to inspire millions around the world. The Buddha understood that true happiness could not be found in material possessions or worldly pleasures, but only in the pursuit of inner peace and spiritual awakening. His life exemplifies the transformative power of aligning with one's deepest values. Section 4. Synthesis and Transition. A Symphony of Self, ARCHETYPES, Shadow, and values in harmony. Authentic success, therefore, arises not from suppressing aspects of ourselves, but from orchestrating them in alignment with core values, creating a symphony of self where each instrument plays its part in a harmonious whole. Shadow integration provides the raw material, the unacknowledged aspects of our personality. Archetypal awareness provides the structure, helping us understand the patterns and forces at play within us, and values clarification provides the direction, guiding our actions toward a meaningful and fulfilling purpose. This integration is the key. However, the journey doesn't end with intellectual understanding. It requires consistent action, self-compassion, and a willingness to continually refine our understanding of ourselves. It's a long-term perspective that requires constant self-reflection and adaptation. We will stumble, we will make mistakes, but what truly matters is that we keep moving forward, guided by our inner compass and committed to living in alignment with our deepest values. No one can master this process overnight. Now that we've explored the key elements of authentic success, shadow integration, archetypal awareness, and values alignment, let's bring it all together with a few practical steps for creating a life of lasting meaning and purpose. It is now time to synthesize everything we've discussed and discover how these insights can be applied in real-world scenarios. However, we're just scratching the surface of how to implement values and archetypes into your daily life. How can we take these insights and turn them into concrete actions that lead to a more fulfilling and successful life? Section 1. Crafting your personal success equation. A holistic blueprint for fulfillment. Have you ever wondered why some self-help advice works wonders for one person, yet falls flat for another? It's because there's no one-size-fits-all definition of success, and true fulfillment comes from crafting a personalized equation that reflects your unique combination of shadow integration, archetypal awareness, and values alignment. Generic formulas often overlook the individual nuances of personality, leading to frustration and a sense of disconnect. What if, instead of trying to fit into a predetermined mold, you could design your own blueprint for success, tailored to your specific strengths, weaknesses, and aspirations? Consider the idea of a success equation as a framework for combining shadow integration, archetypal awareness, and values alignment into a practical, actionable plan. Think of this like a recipe. Shadow integration, archetypal awareness, and values alignment are essential ingredients for creating a delicious dish, a metaphor for success. Omit one, and the entire flavor profile changes, perhaps becoming bland or even unpalatable. Shadow integration provides the grounding, tempering potential excesses. Archetypal awareness offers a framework, clarifying the energies at play. Values alignment provides the compass, ensuring you're headed in a personally meaningful direction. Crafting a success equation is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process of experimentation, refinement, and adaptation as you evolve and grow. Your values will shift as you gain new experiences and insights. Your shadow will reveal new facets as you confront different challenges. Just as a chef continually tweaks a recipe to achieve the perfect balance, you'll need to adjust your success equation as you navigate the ever-changing landscape of your life. What worked for you at 20 may not be relevant at 40, and that's perfectly normal, perhaps even desirable. Therefore, it's crucial to critically examine societal definitions of success and to challenge any limiting beliefs or expectations that don't align with your authentic self. Question the shoulds that have been imposed upon you, the expectations that have been internalized without conscious thought. What do you truly value, regardless of what your parents, your friends, or society at large might think? This process of questioning can be uncomfortable, even unsettling, but it's essential for breaking free from the shackles of borrowed desires and creating a life that truly reflects your unique potential. Section 2. SDP DCONSDRUCTING, and reconstructing your definition of success. The first step in crafting your personalized success equation involves conducting a comprehensive inventory of your shadow qualities. identifying those that are most actively sabotaging your efforts and hindering your progress toward your goals. This is not about self-flagellation or dwelling on your perceived flaws, but rather about gaining a clear-eyed understanding of the unconscious patterns that are holding you back. Focus on the most destructive patterns. Are you prone to procrastination, self-doubt, or anger outbursts? Identify one or two key areas to focus on initially, rather than trying to tackle everything at once. Next, identify the dominant archetypes that are influencing your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and consciously choose how to embody these archetypes in a way that supports your values and goals. This is about harnessing the power of archetypal energies for good, rather than being unconsciously driven by them. If you find yourself being reckless, like an unbridled hero archetype, consider how you can channel that energy into calculated risk-taking or courageous action, rather than impulsive decisions that jeopardize your well-being. This requires conscious awareness and intentionality. Finally, clarify your core values, prioritizing those that are most essential for your sense of meaning and purpose, and create a detailed action plan that aligns your daily activities with these values. This is about translating your values into concrete behaviors, ensuring that your actions are a true reflection of what you hold most dear. Identify actionable steps you can take each day to live in accordance with your top 3 values. If you value creativity, for example, schedule dedicated time for artistic pursuits, even if it's just for 30 minutes a day. Consider the real-world example of someone who values creativity but is stuck in a monotonous job. By integrating their shadow, fear of failure, embracing the trickster archetype, willingness to experiment, and prioritizing their value of creativity, they can create a side project or transition to a more fulfilling career. This might involve taking an online course in graphic design, starting a blog to showcase their writing, or volunteering for a local arts organization. The key is to take small, consistent steps that align with their values and move them closer to their desired outcome. But here's what most people miss. The side project or creative endeavor isn't about becoming famous. It's about expressing a core value and integrating the shadow through risk-taking. Section 3. Examples of Success Equations in Action. Case studies and inspirational figures. Let's examine how this works in practice, specifically looking at the social entrepreneur, one who integrates their shadow ambition with the sage archetype, knowledge, and the value of social justice to build a nonprofit. This individual understands that ambition, when unchecked, can lead to greed and exploitation. By integrating this shadow quality, they are able to channel their ambition into creating positive social change, using their knowledge and skills to address pressing societal problems. The integration of their shadow allows them to act effectively in the real world, building sustainable solutions that benefit both themselves and others. In contrast, consider the recovering perfectionist, an individual who integrates their shadow, self-compassion, with the sage archetype, wisdom, and the value of authenticity to embrace imperfection and find joy in the process. This person has learned to let go of the need to be perfect, recognizing that mistakes are a natural part of the learning process. By embracing self-compassion, they are able to forgive themselves for their imperfections and move forward with greater resilience and self-acceptance. They have transformed their lives by shifting their focus from external validation to internal satisfaction, finding joy in the process of creation, rather than solely on the end result. Finally, there is the reluctant leader, someone who integrates their shadow, vulnerability, with the hero archetype, courage, and the value of service to lead with empathy and inspire others. This leader understands that true strength lies not in suppressing vulnerability, but in embracing it. By being open and honest about their own struggles and imperfections, they create a safe space for others to do the same, fostering a culture of trust and collaboration. The ability to understand others allows them to lead with empathy and inspire their teams to achieve extraordinary results. They've come to understand that a great leader is a great servant, not a great dictator. In these case studies, several common patterns emerge. All of these individuals underwent a fundamental shift in their perception of what success truly meant, abandoning external measures of achievement in favor of a more fulfilling, values-driven path. They learned to embrace their shadows, harness the power of archetypes, and align their actions with their deepest beliefs, creating a life that is both meaningful and impactful. What if these individuals had been unwilling to confront their shadows or to question their preconceived notions of success? Section 4. Synthesis and transition. Embracing uncertainty and trusting the process, it's crucial to remember that the success equation is not a magic formula that guarantees a particular outcome, but rather a tool for aligning with your authentic self and navigating the inevitable challenges and uncertainties of life. It is a direction, not a destination, a compass, not a GPS. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that if you simply follow the steps, you'll automatically achieve your desired results. Life is far too complex and unpredictable for such simplistic thinking. Embrace the importance of flexibility and adaptation, remaining open to changing your success equation as you evolve and grow, recognizing that life is a dynamic and unpredictable journey. Life is more like a river, constantly flowing and changing, than a stagnant pond. Be prepared to adjust your course as new opportunities arise, unexpected challenges emerge, and your own values and priorities shift. Rigidity can be a death knell for personal growth and fulfillment. Trust the process of self-discovery and personal growth, even when faced with setbacks and challenges. Sometimes, the most important lessons are learned through failure, not success. Don't be discouraged by mistakes or temporary setbacks. View them as opportunities for learning and growth, valuable feedback that can help you refine your success equation and move forward with greater wisdom and resilience. What we'll discover next is even more shocking, particularly when it comes to these dark periods. Therefore, how can we cultivate the resilience, adaptability, and faith needed to navigate the inevitable uncertainties and challenges on our path to authentic success? The answer lies in understanding the critical role that self-compassion, mindfulness, and a growth mindset play in supporting our journey, which we will explore next. Section 1. The anatomy of stuck. Psychological entropy and the misalignment of self. Have you ever felt like you're running in place, expending tremendous energy, yet making no real progress? This feeling, often described as stuckness, isn't simply a lack of external achievement, but a state of internal entropy where your inner energies stagnate due to misalignment. It is a distinctly personal definition. It is more than just a temporary setback. It's a pervasive sense of being trapped in a cycle of frustration and unrealized potential. While stuckness can overlap with clinical depression, it is not necessarily the same thing. Depression is often characterized by persistent sadness, loss of interest, and feelings of hopelessness. Psychological stuckness, on the other hand, may involve a broader sense of frustration, a feeling of being disconnected from one's purpose, and a persistent inability to move forward, even when external circumstances appear favorable. It is a distinct, yet related, phenomenon. It's not necessarily a clinical diagnosis, but rather a subjective experience of being trapped, a sense of being unable to translate inner desires into tangible results. Is this a feeling you know well? Conceptualize this stuckness as an inner civil war, where different aspects of yourself are conscious, desires versus your unconscious fears and beliefs are in constant conflict. On one side, you may consciously desire to achieve a specific goal, such as starting a business, writing a book, or improving your relationships. However, on the other side, your subconscious may harbor deep-seated fears, limiting beliefs, or conflicting values that actively sabotage your efforts. This creates a perpetual state of internal conflict, draining your energy and preventing you from achieving your full potential. This civil war is not a dramatic, obvious battle, but a subtle, insidious drain. A key component of stuckness is psychological resistance the unconscious forces that actively prevent change or growth, often for self-preservation, though ultimately self-defeating. We resist the very things that would set us free, as Carl Jung observed. This resistance can manifest in various ways, such as procrastination, self-sabotage, avoidance, or rationalization. It's often rooted in a fear of the unknown, a fear of failure, or a fear of success. Resistance protects us from perceived threats, but it also keeps us trapped in our comfort zones, preventing us from realizing our full potential. Are you aware of the ways you resist change? Section 2. Shadow ARCHETYPES of stuck. Identifying the inner saboteurs. To truly understand how we get stuck, we need to examine the hidden forces that contribute to this internal entropy, the shadow aspects that lie dormant beneath the surface of our conscious awareness. These shadow aspects often manifest as archetypes, universal patterns of behavior and belief that can either empower us or hold us back. Among the most common shadow archetypes associated with stuckness are the victim, the saboteur, the martyr, and the procrastinator. The victim archetype is characterized by a pattern of learned helplessness, where individuals unconsciously relinquish their power and blame external forces for their lack of success. The origins of the victim often lie in early childhood experiences, such as trauma, neglect, or overprotective parenting. Individuals who identify with this archetype often hold limiting beliefs such as, "I'm not good enough," "I'm powerless to change my circumstances," or "the world is against me." They may consistently find themselves in situations where they feel helpless, exploited, or mistreated. But is the world really against them, or is it a self-fulfilling prophecy? The saboteur archetype, on the other hand, manifests as an internal voice that undermines efforts toward success, planting seeds of doubt, fear, and self-criticism. This inner critic constantly tells you you're not worthy, that you're not capable, or that you're destined to fail. Many people are self-sabotaging without even realizing it. They may procrastinate on important tasks, make impulsive decisions that undermine their goals, or engage in self-destructive behaviors such as substance abuse or unhealthy relationships. The saboteur operates from a place of fear, seeking to protect you from perceived threats, even if those threats are largely imaginary. Why are we often our own worst enemy? The martyr archetype is characterized by a pattern of self-sacrifice, where individuals prioritize the needs of others above their own, leading to resentment, burnout, and a sense of unfulfillment. Individuals who embody this archetype often believe that they must always put others first, even at their own expense. "I have to take care of everyone else, even at my own expense," is a common refrain. They may feel guilty or selfish if they prioritize their own needs or desires. The martyr's traits often stem from a deep-seated need for validation and approval, seeking to earn love and acceptance by constantly sacrificing themselves for others. But what happens when their well runs dry? Finally, the procrastinator archetype represents a fear-based avoidance strategy, where individuals delay taking action due to anxiety, perfectionism, or a lack of self-belief. They may put off important tasks until the last minute, make excuses for their inaction, or become easily distracted by less important activities. The root causes of procrastination can be complex, ranging from a fear of failure to a fear of success, or simply a lack of clear goals and priorities. These traits can look like disorganization, poor time management, or an inability to focus. However, beneath the surface often lies a deeper fear of not being good enough, of not being able to meet expectations, or of not being worthy of success. Is procrastination truly laziness, or a symptom of something deeper? Section 3. RELWRLD EXAMPLES of SHADOWDRIVN STUCKNSS. Case studies and SCNAROs. These shadow archetypes are not abstract concepts, but very real forces that shape our lives. Consider the burned-out achiever, a high-achieving professional who secretly feels empty and unfulfilled, driven by the martyr archetype, sacrificing their own well-being for the sake of their career and others. They relentlessly pursue external validation, ignoring their own needs in pursuit of society's goals. They may achieve great success in their chosen field, but at the cost of their personal relationships, their physical health, and their overall sense of well-being. They are often admired by others, but secretly envy those who seem to have a more balanced and fulfilling life. Are they truly successful, or merely successful in the eyes of others? Then there's the perfectionist paralysis, an aspiring entrepreneur who never launches their business due to the saboteur archetype, constantly second-guessing themselves and fearing failure. If I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all, is their mantra. They may spend countless hours planning, researching, and refining their business plan, but they never actually take the leap and launch their venture. They are often paralyzed by fear, believing that if they can't achieve perfection, they are doomed to fail. They may also worry about what others will think of them if they fail, fearing judgment and ridicule. What potential lies dormant, trapped by the pursuit of an impossible standard? Consider also the resentful caregiver, a stay-at-home parent who feels trapped and resentful, driven by the victim archetype, blaming their circumstances for their lack of personal fulfillment. They give up everything for their kids and then regret it. They may feel that they have sacrificed their own dreams and ambitions for the sake of their family, and resent their partner or children for the perceived limitations on their freedom and personal growth. They often feel unappreciated and undervalued, believing that their contributions are not recognized or respected. They may also feel isolated and alone, longing for a sense of purpose and connection beyond their family responsibilities. Is this sacrifice truly selfless or a form of self-imprisonment? Finally, we have the creative block, an artist who struggles to produce new work due to the procrastinator archetype, constantly delaying their projects and doubting their abilities. "It's not good enough" is a common phrase they repeat. They may start numerous projects, only to abandon them unfinished, feeling overwhelmed by the task at hand. They often compare themselves to other artists, feeling that their work is inferior or unoriginal. They may also fear criticism, worrying that their work will be rejected or ridiculed by others. They are trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and inaction, unable to express their creativity and share their gifts with the world. Why do we often stifle the very thing that could bring us joy? Section 4. Behaviorism free. Integrating the shadow to unlock momentum and reclaim agency. The good news is that it is possible to break free from these patterns of stuckness, reclaim your agency, and unlock your full potential. The first step toward overcoming stuckness is acknowledging the presence and influence of these shadow archetypes, recognizing that they are not fixed identities, but rather patterns of behavior that can be changed. You are not the shadow, but it influences you. This requires a willingness to confront your own darkness, to examine the parts of yourself that you have disowned or rejected. Next, you must learn to identify and reclaim disowned needs and desires that have been suppressed by these shadow patterns, learning to listen to the voice of your authentic self. What did you love to do as a child? What activities brought you joy and fulfillment? What are your deepest values and aspirations? Reconnecting with these disowned needs and desires can provide a powerful source of motivation and direction, helping you to break free from the limitations imposed by your shadow. Listen to your intuition and follow your passions, even if they seem impractical or unconventional. It's time to listen to your inner child. It's equally important to challenge and transform limiting beliefs associated with these shadow archetypes, replacing them with empowering beliefs that support growth and success, shifting to a positive mindset. Instead of believing, "I'm not good enough," begin to believe, "I'm capable of learning and growing." Instead of believing, "I'm powerless to change my circumstances," start to believe, "I have the power to create the life I want." This requires conscious effort and consistent reinforcement, but it can have a profound impact on your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Affirmations, visualizations, and cognitive restructuring techniques can be powerful tools for shifting limiting beliefs. How can you rewrite the narrative of your life? Finally, embrace imperfection, release the need for control, and take small, consistent actions toward your goals, even in the face of fear and uncertainty. Done is better than perfect, as the saying goes. Don't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect conditions. Start where you are with what you have, and take small steps forward each day. Celebrate your progress, learn from your mistakes, and keep moving forward, even when it's difficult. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. What small step can you take today? By integrating our shadow, we can break free from the patterns that hold us back and create a life of greater meaning, fulfillment, and success. But before we conclude, let's explore how to align our actions with our core values and life purpose, ensuring that our success is not only fulfilling, but also aligned with our deepest sense of who we are. Understanding this alignment is vital, particularly when, as we'll explore next, we consider what happens when these values come into conflict with the darker aspects of ourselves. Section 1. Reconciling shadow and values. Turning inner conflict into focused action. What if the very qualities you've been taught to suppress hold the key to unlocking your greatest potential? The paradox of shadow-aligned values lies in the idea that our true values may be hidden within the shadow, representing disowned desires or needs that, when integrated, provide powerful motivation and direction. Alleviating the fear of the shadow involves recognizing that it is not inherently evil, but rather a collection of unexamined aspects of the self, and often ones with significant driving potential. Values act as a compass for navigating the often treacherous waters of shadow integration. Clearly defined values help us discern which aspects of the shadow to embrace and which to consciously manage or transform, giving us a roadmap through our own internal maze. Without a compass, it is easy to get lost in the labyrinth of the unconscious, but a strong moral code provides clarity and direction, ensuring that we integrate the shadow in a way that is aligned with our authentic self. How then can we prioritize shadow qualities for integration? The first step to understanding how values affect shadow work is deconstructing our preconceived notions of good and bad. Not every shadow quality is inherently detrimental. Their value depends on how they are aligned with personal values and expressed in the world. Take, for example, a ruthless businessman who, from a societal perspective, might be viewed as bad. However, if this ruthlessness is channeled into providing for his family, creating jobs, and building a successful enterprise that benefits the community, it takes on a different complexion. His ruthlessness, while perhaps ethically questionable in some contexts, becomes a driving force for good in others, transforming his shadow traits into a source of positive action. Can something truly be bad if it yields positive outcomes? Now that we understand how values can illuminate the path through the shadow, let's explore specific techniques for consciously aligning our shadow work with our core values and life purpose. By consciously examining this connection, you are empowered to make these important decisions and to become a force of good in the world, instead of allowing your shadow to make you destructive. This proactive engagement with the unconscious is the key to unlocking our full potential, which can lead to a productive and satisfying life. Section 2. Practical techniques for values shadow integration. One of the most effective ways to bridge the gap between shadow and values is through values-based journaling prompts. These prompts encourage you to explore the relationship between your shadow qualities and your core values, fostering a deeper understanding of yourself. Start by asking yourself, how might embracing my shadow quality help me to better express my value of core value? For example, how might embracing my ambition help me to better express my value of success? Reflecting on this question can reveal hidden connections between seemingly contradictory aspects of your personality, allowing you to harness the energy of your shadow in service of your values. What limiting beliefs are preventing you from aligning your actions with your values? Another useful exercise is shadow value identification, a process of uncovering hidden or shadow values, those that feel shameful or forbidden, but are essential for your sense of fulfillment. Ask yourself, what values do you admire in others but deny in yourself? Perhaps you admire the assertiveness of a colleague, but feel guilty for expressing your own needs. Acknowledging and integrating this shadow value can lead to greater self-acceptance and a more authentic expression of your true self. By identifying these values, you can start to reclaim parts of yourself that you have long suppressed, paving the way for a more integrated and fulfilling life. Have you been denying a part of yourself that you secretly admire in others? To further the process, practice values-based decision-making, a framework for making choices that align with both your conscious values and your integrated shadow qualities, ensuring that your actions are authentic and empowering. When faced with a decision, ask yourself, how can I honor my values in this situation while also acknowledging my shadow needs? For example, if you value honesty but struggle with confrontation, you might choose to express your truth in a way that is both direct and compassionate, integrating your shadow impulse to avoid conflict with your value of authenticity. This approach ensures that your decisions are aligned with your whole self, rather than driven by fear or self-denial. Can you think of a time when your decisions were out of alignment with your values? Ultimately, the goal of values-based shadow work is to set goals that are not only ambitious, but also deeply aligned with your values and integrated shadow qualities, creating a sense of purpose and direction. Ask yourself, how can my goals reflect both my aspirations and my authentic self? If you value creativity but have always pursued a career in finance, you might set a goal to incorporate more creative expression into your daily life, whether through writing, painting, or music. By aligning your goals with both your aspirations and your authentic self, you are more likely to experience a sense of flow, fulfillment, and lasting success. Are you truly happy with your current goals, or are they driven by external expectations? Section 3. Case Studies. VALUSDRIVN Shadow Integration in Action. Consider the ethical entrepreneur, a business owner who integrates their shadow, ruthlessness, with the value of integrity to build a successful company that treats employees and customers fairly. They acknowledge their ruthless side, recognizing that it can be used to make tough decisions and navigate competitive markets. However, they consciously choose to temper their ruthlessness with a commitment to ethical practices, transparency, and social responsibility. As a result, they build a company that is not only profitable, but also respected and admired for its integrity, creating a positive impact on the world. How has their life improved through this integration? Then there's the compassionate activist, an advocate who integrates their shadow, anger, with the value of social justice to channel their outrage into effective action, fighting for what is right. They use their anger to fuel the fire for justice, but they also recognize that uncontrolled anger can be destructive. They consciously manage their anger through mindfulness practices, self-reflection, and constructive communication, ensuring that their activism is both passionate and effective. They are able to harness the energy of their shadow to create positive change in the world, inspiring others to join them in their fight for justice. How do they manage their anger to achieve this balance? The authentic artist provides a compelling example of shadow integration. This creator integrates their shadow, vulnerability, with the value of self-expression to produce art that is both deeply personal and universally relatable, creating pieces that connect with other people. They embrace their pain and use it to create beauty, transforming their vulnerabilities into a source of strength and resilience. They are not afraid to explore dark themes or express difficult emotions in their work, knowing that these are the very things that make their art authentic and meaningful. How does embracing pain contribute to their creative process? Let us analyze the patterns in their lives. These individuals, though diverse in their pursuits, share a common thread. They successfully integrated their shadow and acted on their values. Before integration, they were often plagued by stuckness, a sense of being trapped, unfulfilled, and unable to reach their full potential. The ethical entrepreneur may have struggled with guilt over their ambition. The compassionate activist may have been consumed by rage, and the authentic artist may have been paralyzed by fear of judgment. However, by consciously integrating their shadow and aligning their actions with their values, they were able to break free from these patterns and create lives of purpose, meaning, and authentic success. The vital and essential ingredient here is conscious integration. Section 4. Synthesis and Transition. The Symphony of Self-Values, Shadow, and a PURPOSEDRIVEN life. To recap, value-as-aligned shadow work involves identifying and embracing our shadow qualities, aligning them with our core values, and translating this alignment into purposeful action. The goal is to create a harmonious relationship between conscious values, unconscious shadow qualities, and purposeful action, composing a symphony of the self. It's not about eradicating the shadow, but about conducting its energy in a way that enhances our lives and the lives of others. We can integrate our shadow to become a true force for good. The process of aligning shadow and values can be challenging and messy, requiring self-compassion, patience, and a willingness to embrace imperfection. There will be times when you stumble, when you make mistakes, and when you feel overwhelmed by the task at hand. This is a process that will last a lifetime, and there will be many struggles along the way, because nothing is ever easy. However, by approaching this journey with self-compassion and a willingness to learn from your mistakes, you can create a life that is both authentic and fulfilling. This is not a one-time fix, but an ongoing journey of self-discovery and personal growth, requiring consistent effort and a commitment to living in alignment with your authentic self. The long-term impact of this work can be profound, leading to greater self-acceptance, improved relationships, increased creativity, and a deeper sense of purpose. It is a lifelong commitment to self-awareness and integration, but the rewards are well worth the effort. In the end, you can achieve a balanced and harmonious life. By aligning our shadow with our values and purpose, we can unlock our full potential and create a life that is not only successful, but also deeply meaningful and fulfilling. Now, let's bring it all together with a few final thoughts on how to embrace uncertainty and trust the process, as well as explore how these principles relate to the achievement of success in the external world, an act often fraught with unexpected events. Ultimately, how can we build resilience and maintain faith as we navigate the complexities of integrating our shadows with the pursuit of true success? As we continue to navigate the landscape of self-discovery, how can we create a sustainable path toward success, one that integrates our inner world with our external achievements? The answer lies in understanding the dynamic interplay between three essential elements: our shadow, our archetypes, and our values, all of which combine to form a triangle of wholeness. Visualizing this interplay, picture a triangle where each point represents one of these elements. The shadow, holding our disowned qualities, forms the foundation, providing the raw material for growth. Archetypes, the universal patterns of behavior and motivation, shape this raw material into recognizable forms. And values, our guiding principles, provide the direction, ensuring that our actions are aligned with our authentic self. These three elements are not isolated entities, but rather interconnected aspects of a single, dynamic system, a system that can unlock profound personal transformation. What potential could we unlock by harmonizing these inner drivers? This triangle of wholeness operates as a feedback loop, where insights from shadow work inform archetypal embodiment, which in turn clarifies values, leading to a deeper understanding of the shadow. For example, confronting your fear of failure, shadow, might reveal a deep-seated desire for recognition, archetype, which then clarifies your value of achievement. Embracing your inner trickster, archetype, can help you question societal norms, values, leading you to uncover hidden aspects of your rebellious nature, shadow. Recognizing your need for control, shadow, can lead you to embody the wise ruler archetype, guiding your decisions with fairness and vision and clarifying your value of justice. How can we learn to harness the power of this continuous cycle? However, misalignment within the triangle of wholeness can lead to stuckness, a sense of being trapped, unfulfilled, and unable to move forward. This misalignment often manifests as inner conflict, a feeling that something is off, or that you're not living in alignment with your true self. Perhaps you are pursuing a career that doesn't align with your values, or perhaps you are suppressing certain aspects of your personality in order to fit in. Becoming aware of this misalignment requires a deep level of self-awareness and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself. Ask yourself, are my actions aligned with my values? Am I embracing my authentic self, or am I trying to be someone else? Are there aspects of my shadow that I am refusing to acknowledge? How can we realign ourselves when we feel this sense of stuckness? Now that we have a framework for understanding the interplay between shadow, archetypes, and values, let's explore specific strategies for optimizing each element within the triangle of wholeness. Let us now optimize the shadow by transforming limitations into catalysts for growth. What if the qualities you've been taught to suppress are actually dormant wellsprings of untapped potential, reframing seemingly negative shadow qualities, e.g., anger, fear, selfishness, as potential sources of strength, creativity, and resilience is a crucial step in unlocking their power. It's not about condoning destructive behavior, but about recognizing the inherent energy and drive within these qualities and learning to channel them in constructive ways. The key is to shift your perspective, to see these qualities not as flaws, but as raw materials waiting to be transformed. How can we shift our perspective and see the potential in our shadow? Introducing the concept of the shadow ally, we can consciously befriend and integrate specific shadow qualities that can support your values and goals. This involves identifying a shadow quality that you typically resist or suppress, and then exploring how it might actually serve you. For example, if you tend to avoid conflict, you might consider befriending your inner warrior, learning to assert yourself and stand up for your beliefs. If you struggle with procrastination, you might embrace your inner trickster, finding creative ways to make tasks more engaging and enjoyable. Or perhaps you identify with the control freak and decide to embrace the organization and efficiency that they have to offer, but without the destructive controlling tendencies. These shadow allies are the keys to unlocking those parts of ourselves, thus unlocking the potential that lies within. What shadow qualities might hold the key to your success? Another route to this kind of personal optimization is creative expression as catharsis, offering a powerful means of expressing and integrating shadow qualities, transforming them into something beautiful and meaningful. Writing, painting, music, dance, these are all avenues for channeling the raw energy of the shadow into creative forms. For example, if you're struggling with anger, you might write a poem or song that expresses your rage in a constructive way, or paint an abstract expressionist piece. If you're grappling with fear, you might create a sculpture that embodies your anxieties, transforming them into a tangible form that you can confront. In this way, one is not losing control of your shadow, but gaining new control over your perspective. What will you create? Moreover, shadow integration rituals, from journaling to meditation to visualization, can help to consciously integrate shadow qualities and release limiting beliefs. Journaling prompts like, "What am I most ashamed of?" or "What triggers my anger?" can help you to identify and explore your shadow qualities. Meditation practices can help you to cultivate self-compassion and acceptance, allowing you to embrace your shadow without judgment. Visualization exercises can help you to imagine integrating your shadow qualities, envisioning yourself as a whole and complete person. For example, you might visualize yourself merging with your shadow self, embracing its energy and wisdom. Or you might visualize yourself releasing limiting beliefs, freeing yourself from the constraints of your past. How will you start integrating your shadow today? Now that we've explored the depths of the shadow, let's amplify archetypal awareness and embrace your inner cast of characters. But first, we must move beyond stereotypical interpretations of archetypes, embracing the unique, personalized expression of each archetype within your own personality. While archetypes represent universal patterns of behavior and motivation, they are not rigid templates to be followed blindly. Rather, they are fluid, dynamic forces that manifest differently in each individual, shaped by their unique experiences, values, and shadow qualities. The hero archetype might manifest as a courageous firefighter, a passionate activist, or a quiet caregiver. The sage archetype might appear as an academic, a spiritual guide, or a wise elder. What unique blend of archetypes makes up your personality? To begin to answer this, there is archetypal journaling, using prompts to explore your relationship with specific archetypes. How does the archetype manifest in my thoughts, feelings, and behaviors? What are the positive and negative qualities of this archetype in my life? How can I consciously embody this archetype in a way that aligns with my values? For example, you might explore how the warrior archetype manifests in your competitive drive, your assertiveness, or your willingness to fight for what you believe in. Or you might examine how the lover archetype manifests in your capacity for intimacy, your appreciation of beauty, or your desire for connection. Journaling helps to bring the unconscious to the surface, providing valuable insights into your archetypal makeup. Which archetypes resonate most strongly with you? Following this, archetypal role-playing gives you space to experiment with embodying different archetypes in daily life, consciously adopting their behaviors, attitudes, and values to see how they feel and what insights they provide. This is not about pretending to be someone you're not, but about exploring different facets of your personality, consciously using them to express your authentic self. For example, you might channel your inner trickster at a party, using humor and wit to liven up the conversation. Or you might embody the sage when giving advice, drawing on your wisdom and experience to guide others. Or you might tap into your inner magician when solving a problem, using your creativity and resourcefulness to find innovative solutions. How can you start to use archetypes to express your authentic self? Finally, archetypal mentors can be used as role models or mentors who embody specific archetypes that you admire, learning from their experiences and wisdom. This could be a historical figure, a contemporary leader, or someone in your personal life. For example, if you admire the leadership qualities of Nelson Mandela, you might study his life and writings, seeking to understand how he embodied the king archetype. Or if you admire the creativity of Frida Kahlo, you might explore her art and biography, seeking to understand how she channeled her inner artist. By studying these archetypal mentors, you can gain valuable insights into how to embody these qualities in your own life, using them to achieve your goals and live in alignment with your values. Who embodies your most admired archetype? Now that we've explored the power of archetypes, let's delve into embodying core values and living a life of authentic purpose. Core values act as a guiding star for decision-making, goal-setting, and daily actions, providing a sense of clarity, direction, and meaning. They are the principles that guide your choices, shape your behavior, and define your character. Clearly defined values act as a constant, true north during times of uncertainty, helping you to stay on course when faced with challenges and temptations. But what if these values are not clearly defined or consciously embraced? Acting as protective forces, values-based boundaries will help you establish and maintain healthy boundaries that protect your values, preventing you from being taken advantage of or compromising your integrity. This involves setting limits on what you will and will not tolerate in your relationships, your work, and your personal life. No is a complete sentence, a powerful tool for protecting your boundaries and honoring your values. This also involves being willing to say no to opportunities that don't align with your values, even if they seem appealing on the surface. Protecting these forces is essential for maintaining integrity and living a life of authentic purpose. How will you use boundaries to protect your values? And beyond just boundary setting, one must seek value-aligned relationships. Cultivating relationships with people who share your values and support your growth, and distancing yourself from those who undermine your authenticity or compromise your principles will empower you to act. This involves being selective about who you spend your time with, choosing to surround yourself with people who lift you up, challenge you to grow, and inspire you to live in alignment with your values. It also means being willing to let go of relationships that are toxic, draining, or simply not a good fit. While this can be difficult, it is essential for creating a life of authenticity and fulfillment. How can you nurture relationships that align with your values? Finally, invite yourself to consider the legacy you want to leave behind and to consciously align your actions with that vision, creating a life that is not only successful but also deeply meaningful and impactful. This involves thinking beyond your immediate goals and considering the long-term consequences of your choices. What kind of impact do you want to have on the world? What values do you want to embody in your life? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? By consciously aligning your actions with your vision for the future, you can create a life that is not only successful but also deeply fulfilling and meaningful. What legacy do you aspire to create? In summary, the dance of integration involves harmonizing shadow, archetypes, and values. It's an ongoing process of self-discovery, integration, and alignment, not a destination to be reached. There will be times when you feel lost, confused, or overwhelmed. But by embracing the process, trusting your intuition, and staying true to your values, you can create a life that is both authentic and fulfilling. This takes consistent effort and self-compassion. It's a lifelong journey, but the rewards are well worth the effort. Where do you feel the greatest need for integration in your life? Emphasizing the imperfectly whole ideal, we can recognize that true success is not about achieving perfection, but about embracing the imperfectly whole version of yourself, with all your strengths, weaknesses, quirks, and contradictions. This involves accepting yourself as you are, flaws and all, and recognizing that your imperfections are what make you unique and valuable. It's about celebrating your humanity with all its messy complexities and recognizing that you are a work in progress, constantly evolving and growing. How can you embrace your imperfectly whole self? Furthermore, trusting your inner compass, listening to your intuition, and following your unique path, even when it diverges from societal expectations or conventional definitions of success, is a crucial element of your journey. This involves trusting your gut, honoring your inner voice, and having the courage to pursue your dreams, even when others doubt or discourage you. It's about recognizing that true success is not about conforming to external standards, but about living in alignment with your authentic self. Now, by consciously working with our shadow, archetypes, and values, we can create a life that is not only successful, but also deeply meaningful and fulfilling. But before we conclude, let's explore a few final thoughts on how to embrace uncertainty and trust the process. What steps will you take toward this embodiment? Have you ever noticed how easily you can spot flaws in others that you can't see in yourself? We all have a tendency to see the world not as it is, but as we are. This phenomenon, known as psychological projection, is like looking into a hall of mirrors, where you see your own features exaggerated and misplaced on someone else's face. But what makes these unconscious reflections so powerful, and at times so deceptive? Psychological projection, conceptualized by Sigmund Freud and later expanded upon by Carl Jung, is an unconscious defense mechanism where we attribute our own unacceptable thoughts, feelings, or qualities to others. It's a subtle yet pervasive process, where we disown aspects of ourselves and project them onto the world around us, and Jung referred to these disowned aspects as the shadow. What we dislike in others is often what we disown in ourselves, and as Jung writes, the shadow is that hidden, repressed, for the most part inferior and guilt-laden personality whose ultimate ramifications reach back into the realm of our animal ancestors. The power of projection lies in its ability to distort our perception, creating a warped version of reality where we are seeing a warped version of ourselves, not the other person. What makes projection so powerful and deceptive is that we genuinely believe that what we are seeing in others is an objective truth, blinding us to the fact that it is merely a reflection of our own inner world. Using the analogy of a distorted mirror can further illuminate this mechanism. Imagine standing before a mirror that exaggerates your nose, shrinks your eyes, or distorts your smile. You might not recognize yourself at first, but the underlying features are still there, warped and exaggerated. Similarly, when we project, we are seeing a distorted version of ourselves in others, exaggerating their flaws and minimizing their virtues. This distortion leads to misunderstandings and conflict as we react to the projected image rather than the person themselves. What makes this even more challenging is that we are often completely unaware that we are projecting, mistaking our subjective perception for objective reality. Now that we understand the basic mechanism of projection, let's explore how it manifests in everyday life and in our pursuit of success. Think about the last time you judged someone harshly. What if that judgment revealed more about you than about them? Projection manifests in countless ways in our daily lives, often sabotaging our relationships and hindering our personal growth. Consider the person who constantly criticizes others for being lazy when they secretly fear their own lack of motivation, or the individual who accuses someone of being controlling when they secretly desire control themselves. Then there's the colleague who condemns someone for being arrogant when they secretly envy their confidence. And in all of these situations, projection acts as a smokescreen, obscuring our own inner landscape and preventing us from taking responsibility for our own feelings and behaviors. In relationships, projection can create conflict and distance, as we attribute our own flaws and insecurities to our partners, friends, or family members, creating unnecessary animosity. A common projection pattern in romantic relationships is when one partner accuses the other of being clingy when they secretly fear their own dependence, or when one partner accuses the other of being distant when they secretly fear intimacy. This creates a cycle of blame and defensiveness, preventing genuine connection and understanding. In the workplace, projection can sabotage our success, as we project our own fears and anxieties onto our colleagues, superiors, or subordinates. For instance, fearing a coworker is out to get you when you are secretly competing, or accusing your boss of being unfair when you are secretly insecure about your performance. This can lead to mistrust, conflict, and ultimately, career stagnation. Extending this concept to the societal level, we can see how entire groups of people are demonized based on projected fears and prejudices, and how this has been utilized throughout history to justify discrimination, oppression, and violence. Othering, the process of portraying certain groups as fundamentally different or inferior, is often rooted in projection, as we project our own shadow qualities onto those who are different from us. As Robert A. Johnson writes in Owning Your Own Shadow, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The more we fail to acknowledge our projections, the more we become puppets of our unconscious, blindly acting out patterns of behavior that perpetuate conflict and division. But what happens when we fail to acknowledge our projections? What are the consequences of living in a world of distorted reflections? Unacknowledged projection is like a virus, silently infecting our relationships, our self-perception, and even our society as a whole. When we fail to recognize that what we see in others is often a reflection of ourselves, we become strangers to ourselves, lost in a world of distorted perceptions. This can lead to a cascade of negative consequences, from personal conflict to societal chaos. One of the most significant consequences of unacknowledged projection is a distorted sense of self, where we fail to recognize and integrate our own shadow qualities. We become like actors playing a role, unaware of the true nature of our own character. This lack of self-awareness impairs our ability to make conscious choices, as we are driven by unconscious impulses and projections. It's impossible to truly know someone when you're projecting onto them, and this extends to ourselves as well. Projection damages relationships, creating misunderstandings, conflict, and a lack of genuine connection. When we project our own flaws and insecurities onto others, we fail to see them as they truly are, and we treat them unfairly. This can lead to resentment, bitterness, and ultimately, the breakdown of relationships. Projection can also prevent us from seeing opportunities for growth and success, as we project our own limitations onto others or onto the world around us. We fail to recognize our own potential, and we become trapped in a cycle of self-fulfilling prophecies. Consider the person who believes that they are not good enough and projects this belief onto their work, their relationships, and their life in general. This belief will inevitably manifest in their reality, as they unconsciously sabotage their own efforts and attract experiences that confirm their negative self-image. Extending this concept to the societal level, unacknowledged projection fuels division, prejudice, and conflict between different groups of people, creating othering and dehumanization. Consider the Salem witch trials, where fear and paranoia led to the projection of evil onto innocent women, or the rise of Nazi Germany, where the Jewish people were demonized and scapegoated for the nation's problems. These examples serve as a stark reminder of the destructive power of unacknowledged projection and how easily it can lead to violence and oppression. But there is hope. We can reclaim our reflections and move toward wholeness. How do we begin to integrate these disowned aspects of ourselves? Imagine a world where we see others not as distorted reflections of ourselves, but as unique individuals with their own strengths and flaws. Acknowledging and integrating our projections leads to increased self-awareness, as we gain a deeper understanding of our own shadow qualities, and we begin to see ourselves more clearly. We recognize that what we dislike in others is often a reflection of what we dislike in ourselves, and we become more willing to own our own imperfections. This newfound self-awareness improves relationships as we become more compassionate, understanding, and accepting of others. We see others as they truly are, not as reflections of ourselves, and we are able to connect with them on a deeper level. Integrating our projections can unlock new sources of creativity and energy as we reclaim disowned aspects of ourselves and embrace our full potential. We become more whole and integrated, able to express ourselves authentically and live in alignment with our values. By integrating our projections, we get closer to who we are supposed to be. By integrating our projections, we can return to the triangle of wholeness with a newfound sense of balance and harmony, using our shadow as a source of strength, our archetypes as guides, and our values as a compass. True success is not about achieving external goals, but about living in alignment with our authentic selves, free from the distortions of projection. It's about embracing the imperfectly whole version of ourselves, with all our strengths, weaknesses, quirks, and contradictions. This involves letting go of the need to be perfect and celebrating our humanity with all its messy complexities. Now that we understand the transformative power of owning our projections, how can we use archetypes as guides on this journey of self-discovery? Now that we've established the pervasive nature of projection and its profound impact on our lives and our success, how do we begin to break free from this hall of mirrors and see others and ourselves with greater clarity? The journey of reclaiming our projections begins with cultivating self-awareness, a process akin to turning on a light in a darkened room, illuminating the hidden corners of our psyche. Without this light, we remain trapped in the shadows, mistaking our distorted perceptions for reality. Cultivating self-awareness is not a passive endeavor. It requires active engagement with our inner world, a willingness to question our assumptions, and a commitment to honest self-reflection. One of the most effective tools for cultivating self-awareness is the practice of metacognition, thinking about your thinking. This involves stepping back from your thoughts and feelings and observing them with detached curiosity, similar to watching clouds drift across the sky. Ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? By becoming aware of your thought patterns and emotional responses, you can begin to identify the underlying beliefs and biases that shape your perceptions. When you find yourself judging someone harshly, pause and ask yourself, what is this judgment really about? What does it say about me? This simple act of questioning can begin to unravel the web of projection and bring you closer to the truth. Are you willing to question the reality you perceive? In addition to metacognition, emotional regulation plays a crucial role in recognizing projection. Strong emotional reactions, such as anger, disgust, or defensiveness, can serve as red flags, signaling that projection may be at play. When you find yourself feeling intensely triggered by someone's behavior, take a moment to pause and reflect before reacting. Ask yourself, why am I so triggered by this? What is this person's behavior reminding me of in myself? Often, the intensity of our emotional reactions is a direct reflection of the degree to which we are projecting our own disowned qualities onto others. One practical technique for emotional regulation is deep breathing. When you feel your emotions rising, take a few slow, deep breaths, focusing on the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. This can help to calm your nervous system and create space for rational thought. And by doing this, you gain the ability to access your true emotions. Another powerful technique for recognizing projection is the reverse inquiry. This involves questioning your own judgments and assumptions about others by asking, what if the opposite were true? For example, if you find yourself thinking that someone is lazy, ask yourself, what if they are actually highly motivated but simply have different priorities than I do? Or, if you find yourself thinking that someone is incompetent, ask yourself, what if they are actually highly skilled but simply lack the resources or support they need to succeed? By challenging your initial perceptions and exploring alternative explanations, you can begin to break free from the trap of projection and see others with greater objectivity. The reverse inquiry technique encourages us to consider that our first impressions and assumptions are often incomplete or inaccurate. It challenges us to consider that the qualities we attribute to others may, in fact, be reflections of our own internal landscape. And as Jung writes, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. How radically would your relationships change if you started questioning every negative thought you have about another person? Finally, seeking feedback from trusted friends, family members, or colleagues can provide valuable insights into our blind spots and recurring patterns of projection. Ask them to identify qualities or behaviors that you may be unaware of or that you tend to project onto others. For example, you might ask, have you ever noticed me judging someone harshly for something that I myself do? Do you see any recurring patterns in my reactions to others? Be open to receiving constructive criticism and resist the urge to become defensive or dismissive. Remember, the goal is not to prove yourself right, but to gain a more accurate understanding of yourself and your projections. Consider asking them to recall specific situations where they observed you projecting and to describe the impact of your behavior on others. This can provide valuable insights into the real-world consequences of your projections. It's important to approach these conversations with humility and a genuine desire to learn and grow. How much closer to your authentic self could you become if you actively sought out and integrated the feedback of trusted individuals in your life? Once we've cultivated the self-awareness to recognize when we're projecting, the next step is to decode the projection and uncover the shadow qualities at play. This involves identifying the specific triggers, emotions, and beliefs that underlie our projections and tracing them back to their source in our own unconscious. It's a process of excavation, unearthing the hidden aspects of ourselves that we have disowned or repressed. One of the most effective ways to decode projection is to pay attention to our trigger words. Certain words or phrases can act as triggers, revealing the underlying shadow qualities that are being projected onto others. For example, if you find yourself frequently using words like lazy, incompetent, controlling, or arrogant to describe others, these words may be pointing to disowned aspects of yourself. Ask yourself, why does this word bother me so much? What does it mean to me? What am I afraid of being seen as? The more emotionally charged a particular word is for you, the more likely it is that it is connected to a shadow quality, and it may point to something you are suppressing. Another valuable tool for decoding projection is the movie screen exercise. This involves analyzing your reactions to movies, TV shows, or books, identifying the characters that evoke strong positive or negative emotions. Ask yourself, what qualities do I admire or despise in these characters? What do these characters represent in my own psyche? Often, the characters we are most drawn to or repulsed by are mirroring aspects of ourselves that we are either embracing or rejecting. For instance, if you find yourself captivated by a character who is rebellious and unconventional, it may be because you secretly desire to express your own individuality but fear the consequences. Or, if you find yourself repulsed by a character who is greedy and selfish, it may be because you are suppressing your own desires for material success. Dream analysis can also provide valuable insights into our projections, as dream figures often represent projected qualities. Pay attention to the characters and their actions in your dreams and ask yourself, what do these figures represent in my own psyche? What messages are they trying to convey? A dream character who is aggressive or violent may represent your own repressed anger, while a dream character who is helpless or vulnerable may represent your own hidden insecurities. The key is to approach your dreams with an open mind and a willingness to explore the symbolic meanings behind the images. And as Jung said, the dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul. Finally, journaling prompts can be a powerful tool for uncovering the shadow qualities that you are projecting onto others. Try answering the following questions in your journal. What qualities do I dislike or judge most harshly in person's name? What aspects of myself does this person remind me of? What am I afraid of becoming like this person? By exploring these questions in writing, you can begin to surface the unconscious beliefs and emotions that are driving your projections. Consider the patterns that emerge in your journal entries. Are there certain qualities or types of people that you consistently judge or dislike? These patterns can provide valuable clues about your own shadow qualities. How much more effectively could you navigate your relationships if you understood the hidden messages within your dreams and the subtle clues within your journal entries? Having recognized and decoded our projections, the most crucial step is to reclaim the projected image, integrating these disowned qualities and fostering self-acceptance. This is not about becoming the negative qualities we project, but rather about acknowledging their presence within us and integrating them into a more complete and balanced sense of self. It's about owning our full humanity, with all its light and shadow. One powerful technique for reclaiming projection is the empathy bridge. This involves consciously trying to understand the perspective of those onto whom we project, appreciating their positive qualities, and recognizing that their behavior may be driven by factors we are not aware of. Ask yourself, what might be driving their behavior? What challenges might they be facing? What strengths might they possess that I am overlooking? By building this empathy bridge, we can begin to see others as complex individuals, rather than as mere projections of our own inner world. How would your perspective shift if you genuinely attempted to see the world through the eyes of someone you dislike? The gratitude exercise can also be helpful in reclaiming projection. This involves focusing on the positive qualities of those we tend to project onto, expressing gratitude for their contributions, and acknowledging their strengths. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this person? What do I appreciate about them? How have they contributed to my life or to the world? By focusing on the positive, we can begin to counterbalance our negative projections and see others in a more balanced light. Consider writing a letter of gratitude to someone you have previously judged harshly, expressing your appreciation for their positive qualities. This can be a powerful way to shift your perspective and break down the barriers of projection. Self-compassion practices are also essential for integrating our projections and fostering self-acceptance. This involves treating ourselves with kindness, understanding, and acceptance, even when confronted with our own shadow qualities. Recognize that we are all imperfect and that we all make mistakes. Instead of beating ourselves up for our flaws, offer ourselves the same compassion and understanding that we would offer to a friend. One simple self-compassion practice is to imagine yourself as a child and to offer that child the same love and support that they need. How much lighter would your burden feel if you embraced your imperfections with self-compassion? Finally, reframing the narrative around our projected qualities can help us to integrate them into our sense of self. Recognize that these qualities are not inherently bad, but simply disowned aspects of ourselves that can be integrated and transformed. For example, if you tend to project aggression onto others, recognize that you may have a repressed desire for assertiveness and the capacity to stand up for yourself. Instead of judging aggression as negative, reframe it as a potential source of strength and empowerment. As Robert A. Johnson writes, "The shadow is not a problem to be solved, but an energy to be channeled." How dramatically would your life improve if you transformed your disowned shadow qualities into sources of strength and creativity? Consider the case of the overcritical boss, a manager who learns to recognize and integrate their projection of incompetence onto their employees. Previously, this manager would constantly micromanage their team, finding fault with everything they did and creating a culture of fear and anxiety. However, after engaging in shadow work and recognizing their own insecurities about their own abilities, the manager began to shift their behavior. They started to delegate more effectively, trust their employees to make decisions, and provide constructive feedback instead of harsh criticism. As a result, the team's morale improved, productivity increased, and the manager became a more supportive and effective leader. The core belief that shifted was from "my employees are incompetent and need constant supervision" to "my employees are capable and trustworthy, and I can support them in reaching their full potential." Another example is the jealous partner, an individual who learns to recognize and integrate their projection of insecurity onto their romantic partner. Initially, this individual would constantly question their partner's whereabouts, accuse them of flirting with others, and demand constant reassurance of their love and commitment. However, after engaging in self-reflection and recognizing their own deep-seated fears of abandonment, the individual began to change their behavior. They started to focus on building their own self-esteem, trusting their partner's love and commitment, and communicating their needs and insecurities in a healthy way. As a result, the relationship became more trusting, fulfilling, and intimate. The core belief that shifted was from "my partner is going to leave me for someone else" to "I am worthy of love and commitment, and my partner has chosen to be with me." Finally, there's the judgmental parent, a parent who learns to recognize and integrate their projection of failure onto their children. This parent previously would constantly pressure their children to excel academically, criticizing their mistakes and pushing them to achieve unrealistic goals. However, after engaging in introspection and recognizing their own fears of not living up to their own potential, the parent began to shift their behavior. They started to focus on supporting their children's passions and interests, celebrating their efforts rather than just their achievements, and creating a more loving and encouraging family environment. As a result, the children became more confident, resilient, and motivated to pursue their own dreams. The core belief that shifted was from "my children must succeed in order to validate my own worth" to "my children are valuable and capable, regardless of their achievements." These case studies demonstrate the transformative power of recognizing, decoding, and integrating our projections. By owning our shadow qualities and embracing our full humanity, we can become more authentic, compassionate, and successful individuals. What was their previous behavior, and what was their new behavior after the transformation? What core beliefs did they previously hold, and what new beliefs did they have? By studying these examples, we can gain a deeper understanding of the process of projection integration and apply these lessons to our own lives. In essence, the techniques we've explored: cultivating self-awareness, regulating emotions, using the reverse inquiry, seeking feedback, identifying trigger words, engaging in dream analysis, and employing journaling prompts all contribute to recognizing, decoding, and integrating our psychological projections. Integrating our projections is an ongoing process of self-discovery and personal growth, one that requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to confront the hidden aspects of ourselves. But we're just scratching the surface. What if these projections are related to even deeper unconscious patterns? As we continue our journey into the depths of the psyche, we will uncover how archetypes can further assist in this process, providing us with additional tools for navigating our inner landscape and achieving authentic success. Just how are archetypes operating, and how much impact do they have on our day-to-day lives? While recognizing projection is a crucial first step, it doesn't automatically lead to integration. Knowing that you are projecting is vastly different than knowing what that information means and then doing something about it. How can you truly understand the underlying forces driving this psychological phenomenon? Archetypes serve as powerful lenses for understanding the underlying dynamics of projection, providing a framework for interpreting the symbolic meaning of projected qualities, which are not the same. Archetypes help us understand why we project certain qualities onto others, offering a deeper level of insight than simply recognizing the act of projection itself. They act as unconscious blueprints, shaping our perceptions and influencing our interactions with the world. Consider that you might project incompetence onto someone, but perhaps you actually need to connect with your inner sage, which knows that knowledge is achieved through constant practice. Or consider that you might be projecting aggressiveness onto someone when you are in need of connecting with your inner hero who courageously stands up for and he believes in. How much more accurately would you perceive the world if you recognized that these negative qualities are actually the product of unrecognized archetypes? Now that we understand how archetypes can help us decode our projections, let's explore some specific examples and see how they manifest in real-life scenarios. Consider how often the shadow archetype manifests in projection, as we disown and attribute our own negative qualities to others. For example, someone who is secretly struggling with their own selfishness might be quick to project selfishness onto someone who is simply asserting their needs. This projection serves as a defense mechanism, allowing the individual to avoid confronting their own disowned qualities. The person who is seemingly selfish might simply be exhibiting self-care, a practice the projector finds unacceptable. Is it possible that, when someone's actions trigger you, that you are simply observing a behavior you find personally unacceptable? The savior archetype can also lead to projection, as we idealize and place unrealistic expectations on others, seeking someone to rescue us from our own problems. For instance, someone might project perfection onto a guru or spiritual leader, expecting them to have all the answers and to solve all their problems. This projection can lead to disappointment when the guru inevitably falls short of these unrealistic expectations. Many people are victims of spiritual gurus who have abused their power, and this is because the archetype of savior can easily manifest in the shadow. It is easy to believe that another person can solve all your problems, but is that person truly equipped? The tyrant archetype can lead to projection, as we attribute our own desire for control onto authority figures, viewing them as oppressive or manipulative. We might project evil onto a political leader or CEO, seeing them as power-hungry and corrupt. This projection allows us to disown our own desire for control and to avoid taking responsibility for our own actions. In this case, we might see our boss as evil when that person is simply trying to make sure things get done. Or we may see the CEO of a company as greedy when they are simply trying to ensure a future for their employees. In these cases, there must be someone who is bad. But is it possible that person is simply acting out of necessity? The anima in men, or animus, in women archetype can lead to projection, as we project our idealized image of the opposite sex onto romantic partners, creating unrealistic expectations and disappointment. A man might project his anima onto a woman, seeing her as the embodiment of his ideal feminine qualities, such as compassion, intuition, and creativity. When the woman inevitably fails to live up to this idealized image, the man may feel disappointed or disillusioned. Consider the man who is seeking a manic pixie dream girl to save him from his problems, only to find out that the manic pixie dream girl has her own problems. Similarly, a woman might project her animus onto a man, seeing him as the embodiment of her ideal masculine qualities, such as strength, assertiveness, and intelligence. What if the man she seeks is actually emotionally unavailable and incapable of meeting her emotional needs? Mythological figures vividly illustrate these archetypal projections. Consider Narcissus, whose obsession with his own reflection represents the danger of projecting all positive qualities onto oneself and disowning any flaws. Narcissus fell in love with the image of himself in the water and eventually died, because he could not obtain the object of his desire, which was himself. He was too stuck in his own head and died as a result. This is a classic shadow projection. On the other hand, consider Pygmalion, whose creation of the perfect woman, Galatea, represents the projection of idealized qualities onto a romantic partner. Pygmalion was a sculptor who fell in love with a statue he had carved. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, took pity on him and turned the statue into a real woman. Pygmalion's projection eventually came to life, but that is only a myth. In the real world, projections such as this can cause major problems in relationships. Literary characters also embody archetypal projections. Heathcliff, in Wuthering Heights, embodies the shadow archetype through his brooding darkness and vengeful nature, representing the projection of repressed anger and pain. Heathcliff was consumed by his desire for revenge and ultimately destroyed himself and those around him. His inability to integrate his shadow led to tragic consequences. Then there's Jay Gatsby, in The Great Gatsby, whose idealized vision of Daisy represents the projection of a perfect, unattainable love, a perfect example of the savior archetype. Gatsby built his entire life around the pursuit of Daisy, believing that she held the key to his happiness. He was, however, projecting his idealized image of her and not actually seeing who she was. Modern pop culture provides even more examples. The Joker, in the Batman series, exemplifies the shadow archetype through his chaotic nature and rejection of society, representing the projection of societal fears and anxieties. The Joker is a reflection of the darkness that lies within us all. His actions serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of repressing our shadow. Then there's Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones, whose story explores the duality between someone who frees people, savior, and someone who will burn cities to the ground, tyrant. Daenerys' journey is a complex exploration of power, ambition, and the potential for even the most well-intentioned individuals to succumb to their shadow. Her story serves as a reminder that the line between savior and tyrant can be thin, and that even those who seek to do good can be corrupted by power. To begin reclaiming your inner landscape, begin with archetypal journaling to identify and integrate archetypal projections. Ask yourself, what archetypes do I tend to idealize or demonize in others? What qualities do I associate with each of these archetypes? How might these projections be affecting my relationships and my success? By answering these questions, you can begin to surface the unconscious beliefs and emotions that are driving your projections. Journaling can help you identify patterns in your projections and gain a deeper understanding of your inner world. How honest can you be with yourself about the qualities you project? Then use active imagination to engage in a dialogue with projected archetypes. Ask them questions, understand their motivations, and integrate their qualities into the conscious personality. Active imagination can help you develop a more personal relationship with your archetypes and to understand how they are influencing your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. By engaging in active imagination, you can begin to integrate the positive qualities of your archetypes and to transform the negative ones. What if you could be your own therapist just by talking to these imaginary characters within yourself? Always remember to find the gold in the projection. Even the most negative projections can contain valuable insights and opportunities for growth, as they often point to disowned qualities or unmet needs that can be reclaimed and integrated. Your most negative projections can offer the biggest silver linings. For example, if you tend to project incompetence onto others, this may be a sign that you are afraid of failing. This projection can be an opportunity to develop greater self-compassion and to embrace your imperfections. The more you dig, the more you will discover. Is it possible to unlock hidden treasures within yourself simply by identifying what triggers you? In essence, using archetypes to understand and integrate projections is an ongoing process of self-discovery and personal growth. By recognizing the archetypes at play in our projections, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationships with others. What if this process is a key to creating more authentic and fulfilling relationships and achieving greater success? But we have only identified the issue. What practical steps can we take to further integrate our shadow self and the archetypes that influence it? Section 1. The Integrated Self. Walking the path of archetypal harmony and projective awareness. What if the ideal self, constantly flaunted by society, is not only unrealistic, but also a dangerous mirage? Society often presents a narrow, unattainable vision of perfection, leaving many feeling inadequate and perpetually chasing an illusion. This relentless pursuit of an idealized self can lead to crippling perfectionism, self-doubt, and a profound sense of unworthiness. Instead of striving for an impossible standard, what if the true path to fulfillment lies in embracing all facets of who you are, flaws and all? Is it possible that striving to be perfect is actually holding you back from achieving genuine success and happiness? Imagine the integrated self as a mosaic, a breathtaking work of art composed of countless diverse pieces. Each shard represents a different aspect of your being: the radiant strengths, the hidden shadows, the powerful archetypes, and the cherished values. Some pieces may be bright and polished, reflecting your talents and virtues, while others may be darker and more jagged, embodying your fears, insecurities, and repressed desires. It is easy to love the parts that are polished and bright, but what about the parts that are jagged and dark? What if these parts were just as essential? The beauty of the mosaic lies not in its uniformity, but in the harmonious arrangement of all its disparate elements. Just as a mosaic would be incomplete and lifeless with only a single color, so too is the self diminished by denying or suppressing any aspect of its totality. Does this mean that your flaws and darkness are not problems, but necessary parts of the bigger picture? The integrated self thrives in the realm of paradox, embracing contradiction as an inherent part of the human experience. We are complex beings, capable of holding seemingly opposing qualities within us without succumbing to inner conflict. We can be both strong and vulnerable, confident and insecure, rational and emotional. These apparent contradictions are not signs of weakness or failure, but rather testaments to our multifaceted nature. Rather than striving to eliminate these tensions, the integrated self recognizes them as sources of energy and creativity, finding harmony in the interplay of opposites. Is it possible that your greatest strengths are born from your deepest vulnerabilities? This is similar to the concept of Wu Wei, which is the art of not forcing, and aligning with the natural flow of things. The integrated self navigates society with authenticity, remaining true to its values while engaging with social expectations. This does not mean blindly conforming to norms, but rather consciously choosing how to interact with the world, challenging conventions when necessary. The integrated individual understands that authenticity does not equal rebellion, nor does it necessitate agreement with every societal dictate. It is a state of awareness, a conscious choice to live in accordance with one's inner compass, even when it diverges from the beaten path. This inner compass may be radically different from society's expectation, but can you still live in harmony? Section 2. The BENEFITS of integration. Cultivating a life of authentic success and lasting. One of the most immediate benefits of integrating the shadow, archetypes, and projections is a profound increase in self-awareness and acceptance. By acknowledging and embracing every facet of who you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you cultivate a deep sense of self-compassion and understanding. This allows you to make peace with your imperfections, recognizing that they are not flaws to be ashamed of, but rather unique aspects that contribute to your individuality. This also means you can understand why you feel and do what you do, and you can make a conscious choice to change. How different would your life be if you genuinely accepted yourself, unconditionally? Integration has profound effects on relationships, reducing emotional reactivity and allowing for deeper, more genuine connections. As projections fade, you begin to see others for who they truly are, rather than through the distorted lens of your own unconscious biases and expectations. This fosters empathy, compassion, and a willingness to understand different perspectives. You are then able to relate with others on a more authentic level, building relationships based on mutual respect and appreciation. Is it possible that the key to unlocking deeper connections with others lies in understanding yourself first? By integrating your shadow, you free up vast amounts of energy that were previously used to suppress unwanted aspects of yourself. This leads to a surge in creative potential, opening you up to new ideas, experiences, and possibilities. The shadow, often perceived as a source of negativity, can become a muse, inspiring artistic expression, innovative problem-solving, and a deeper appreciation for the complexities of life. When you embrace your shadow, you tap into a wellspring of raw, unfiltered energy that can fuel your passions and propel you toward your goals. What if the very thing you fear most holds the key to unlocking your creative genius? Integration fosters greater resilience and adaptability, allowing you to navigate life's inevitable challenges with grace and strength. By embracing all aspects of yourself, you develop a deeper sense of inner stability, enabling you to weather storms and emerge stronger on the other side. You learn to draw on the strengths of your integrated aspects, recognizing that unforeseen challenges can become welcomed opportunities for growth and transformation. When you accept yourself, you accept the world, with all its beauty and chaos. Is it possible that the key to navigating life's uncertainties lies in cultivating unwavering self-acceptance? Section 3. Embodiment as the goal. Creating a life that reflects integrated values and purpose. Integration is not solely about intellectual understanding, but about embodying knowledge, translating insights into concrete actions and behaviors that reflect your values and purpose. It's not enough to simply know what is right. You must actively do what is right, aligning your actions with your beliefs. Knowledge is merely a map. Embodiment is the actual journey through the territory. To truly integrate, you must consistently translate your inner knowing into tangible expressions in the outer world. How will you know that you are integrated and not just acting? Adopting routines provides fertile ground for acting out your values in small but powerful ways. Simple rituals, such as a morning meditation or a weekly act of service, can transform your life. By consciously incorporating your values into your daily life, you create a feedback loop, reinforcing your sense of purpose and solidifying your commitment to living authentically. These routines are not rigid constraints, but rather intentional practices that cultivate a deeper connection to yourself and your values. What small changes can you make to your daily routine to better align with your true self? This could include something as simple as making your bed as soon as you get up in the morning to taking a walk outside to clear your head. An integrated person will naturally be drawn to a community of like-minded individuals, seeking out relationships that nurture growth and support their values. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so choose wisely. Surrounding yourself with people who share your vision and encourage your authenticity can amplify your efforts and provide a sense of belonging. These relationships are not merely social connections, but rather vital sources of inspiration, accountability, and unconditional support. Are you surrounding yourself with people who lift you higher or hold you back? Seek out a teacher or guide who embodies the qualities you aspire to cultivate and watch how they move through the world. Study their actions, learn from their wisdom, and allow their example to inspire you on your own journey. Be discerning in your choice of mentors, seeking those who are genuinely aligned with their values, rather than those who are manipulative or self-serving. A true mentor will empower you to discover your own path, rather than imposing their own agenda. How can you find a mentor who will help you embody your integrated self? Section 4. The Road Ahead. Continuing the journey of SELFDICOVRY and authentic living integration is not a destination but a lifelong journey, requiring persistent self-reflection, self-compassion, and a willingness to embrace uncertainty. There is no final point to reach, no perfect state to achieve. The path of self-discovery is a continuous unfolding, a never-ending process of learning, growing, and evolving. Embrace the challenges and setbacks as opportunities for deeper understanding, knowing that each step, no matter how small, brings you closer to your authentic self. How willing are you to commit to a lifelong journey of self-discovery? Jung once said that the shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. This is another way of saying that there is no final point of arrival. Life will inevitably throw unforeseen curveballs your way, testing your resilience and challenging your values. In these moments, trusting your inner compass is essential to maintaining authenticity and purpose. When faced with difficult decisions or unexpected obstacles, turn inward, connecting with your intuition and inner wisdom. Allow your integrated values to guide your choices, knowing that even in the face of adversity, you can remain true to yourself. The only constant is change, as the ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus said. Are you prepared to embrace the unpredictable nature of life, trusting that you have the inner resources to navigate any storm? By committing to ongoing self-discovery, you will positively influence the lives of those around you, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond your own personal sphere. Your transformation can inspire others to embark on their own journeys of self-discovery, creating a more authentic and compassionate world. Your actions, your words, and your very presence can become a beacon of hope, illuminating the path for those who are seeking a deeper connection to themselves and their purpose. What kind of legacy will you leave behind, and how will your transformation impact the world? I invite you to embark on this journey of self-discovery, knowing that while it may be challenging, a more rewarding life awaits those who commit to understanding themselves. The path of integration is not for the faint of heart, but it is a path that leads to greater authenticity, fulfillment, and lasting success. Embrace the opportunity to explore the depths of your being, to integrate your shadow, and to align your life with your values and purpose. This is more than a journey, it's a homecoming. What could your life look like if you fully embraced all aspects of yourself and chose to live in accordance with your values? We've taken a deep look at how to understand this process, but how do you even begin? Section 1. The Resistance Within. Exploring the inner OBSDACLES to shadow integration, having considered how to create a life that embodies integrated values and purpose. The path to true self-discovery isn't always smooth. Why do so many people struggle to embrace their shadow, even when they intellectually understand its importance. The reason can be attributed to psychological resistance, an unconscious defense mechanism that prevents us from confronting painful or challenging aspects of ourselves. But what exactly is this resistance, and why does it occur? Psychological resistance serves an adaptive function, protecting us from perceived threats or emotional overwhelm. Imagine a dam built to hold back a powerful river. Resistance acts similarly, preventing overwhelming emotions or traumatic memories from flooding our conscious awareness. This dam is not inherently bad, but when it becomes too rigid or unyielding, it prevents the natural flow of energy and growth. Much like a physical dam can prevent the flow of a river and disrupt the surrounding ecosystem. Resistance, in this sense, becomes an obstacle to self-discovery, hindering our ability to integrate the shadow and achieve wholeness. Is it possible that what you perceive as a weakness is actually a protective mechanism gone awry? Resistance is often a sign that we are approaching a particularly potent or disowned aspect of our shadow. Like a warning signal, it indicates that we are nearing a part of ourselves that we have deemed unacceptable or too painful to confront. Instead of viewing resistance as a setback, consider it a positive sign, an indication that you are on the right track. The things we resist the most are often the things we need the most, as it shines a light on areas ripe for growth and transformation. The fact that the unconscious mind is fighting back means that there is a war inside, a battle between what you believe to be true and what you fear. Resistance manifests in many ways, often subtly undermining our efforts to engage in shadow work. Denial is a common form, where we simply refuse to acknowledge the existence of certain shadow qualities within ourselves, projecting them onto others instead. Rationalization involves creating elaborate justifications for our behavior, deflecting responsibility, and avoiding genuine self-reflection. Intellectualization allows us to analyze the shadow from a detached, theoretical perspective, preventing any emotional connection or personal engagement. Avoidance involves steering clear of situations or people that might trigger uncomfortable emotions or shadow qualities. Procrastination serves as a subtle form of resistance, delaying shadow work indefinitely. Emotional numbing, often through substances or distractions, is used to suppress feelings associated with confronting the shadow. How many of these forms of resistance are you already aware of? Now that we understand the nature of resistance, let's delve into the underlying causes and explore why it can be so difficult to embrace our shadow qualities. Section 2. The ROOTS of resistance. Fear, shame, and the wounded inner child fear of the unknown is a potent force that can create significant resistance. As human beings, we tend to cling to familiar patterns of behavior, even if those patterns are dysfunctional. The shadow, by its very nature, represents the unknown, a realm of hidden desires, repressed emotions, and disowned aspects of ourselves. Stepping into this realm can feel like entering uncharted territory, triggering anxiety and uncertainty. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't, as the saying goes, and this sentiment often underlies our resistance to exploring the shadow. Do you prefer staying in your comfort zone or exploring the depths of your mind? Shame and self-judgment can also fuel resistance. We may fear that confronting our shadow will expose us as bad or unworthy, triggering intense feelings of shame and self-loathing. This fear is often rooted in societal expectations and internalized beliefs about what is considered acceptable or desirable. It's important to remember that everyone has a shadow, and confronting it is not a sign of weakness, but rather a courageous step towards wholeness. I'm afraid of what I might find if I look too closely, as one might say when they are on the edge of self-discovery. The wounded inner child is another significant source of resistance. Past traumas or negative experiences can create deep-seated fears and limiting beliefs that prevent us from embracing our shadow. If you experienced emotional neglect as a child, for example, you may have developed a strong aversion to vulnerability, fearing that it will lead to further pain or rejection. This aversion can manifest as resistance to exploring emotions or behaviors that are associated with vulnerability, such as expressing needs, setting boundaries, or asserting oneself. How has your inner child shaped the person you are today? The myth of perfection, perpetuated by society and reinforced by social media, creates unrealistic expectations and fuels resistance to shadow integration. We are bombarded with images of flawless individuals, leading us to believe that we must strive for an impossible ideal. This belief is completely unrealistic because everyone has a shadow and areas for improvement. The desire to look presentable and perfect is at odds with the reality of being human, which is messy, imperfect, and full of contradictions. Is it possible to love yourself with all your flaws and imperfections? Section 3. Navigating Resistance. Practical STRATGIS for gently dismantling DEFENSES and embracing vulnerability self-compassion is the key to overcoming resistance. Treat yourself with kindness, understanding, and acceptance, especially when confronted with challenging emotions or shadow qualities. Imagine you are comforting a dear friend who is struggling. Extend that same compassion to yourself. Recognize that everyone makes mistakes, everyone has flaws, and everyone experiences difficult emotions. Practice self-soothing techniques, such as deep breathing, meditation, or spending time in nature to calm your nervous system and create a sense of safety. Acknowledge your pain without judgment and allow yourself to feel whatever emotions arise, knowing that they will eventually pass. Would you treat yourself the way you treat those you love? Approach shadow work gradually, starting with small, manageable steps and avoiding overwhelming yourself. Don't try to tackle your deepest, darkest secrets all at once. Begin by exploring less threatening aspects of your shadow, such as minor annoyances, recurring habits, or petty resentments. As you become more comfortable with the process, you can gradually delve into more challenging areas. Recognize and celebrate your small victories along the way, acknowledging your progress and building momentum. Baby steps lead to big changes, and this is especially true when it comes to shadow integration. Cultivate mindfulness and observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment, creating space for conscious awareness and preventing reactive behavior. Mindfulness involves paying attention to the present moment without getting caught up in thoughts about the past or worries about the future. When you notice yourself resisting a particular emotion or thought, simply observe it without trying to suppress or change it. Recognize that you are not your thoughts or feelings. You are the observer of your thoughts and feelings. Creating a small amount of distance is often a great step to creating space to observe. Seeking support from trusted friends, family members, therapists, or counselors can create a safe and supportive environment for exploring the shadow. Integration cannot be done alone, and a skilled therapist can provide guidance, support, and accountability as you navigate challenging emotions and shadow qualities. Consider joining a support group or finding a mentor who has experience with shadow work. Share your experiences with others and allow them to offer their perspectives and insights. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. Section 4. Case Studies. Overcoming resistance and unlocking authentic potential. Consider the case of the perfectionist writer, a writer who struggled to share their work with the world, fearing criticism and rejection. They overcame their resistance by embracing vulnerability and self-compassion, recognizing that their writing didn't have to be perfect to be valuable. They found a supportive community of writers who provided encouragement and constructive feedback. They celebrated their small victories along the way, such as completing a chapter or submitting a piece for publication. Ultimately, they were able to share their work with confidence and connect with a wider audience. Another example is the conflict-avoidant partner, an individual who struggled to assert their needs in relationships, fearing conflict and abandonment. They overcame their resistance by learning to communicate their feelings honestly and assert their needs respectfully. They embraced the discomfort of vulnerability, recognizing that it was essential for building stronger, more authentic relationships. As a result, they experienced greater intimacy, trust, and satisfaction in their partnerships. They began using "I feel" statements and other actionable communication steps to take back control. Then there is the stuck entrepreneur, an entrepreneur who struggled to take risks, fearing failure and financial insecurity. They overcame their resistance by reframing failure as a learning opportunity, cultivating self-belief, and focusing on their core values. They recognized that taking risks was essential for achieving their goals and creating a fulfilling career. They developed a growth mindset, embracing challenges as opportunities for growth and learning. Their core values became service and contribution, which meant they had to put their work out there, despite the potential for criticism. As a result, they achieved great success and created a business that aligned with their values. Were these patterns similar or distinct? What did they have in common? In each case, the individuals were able to overcome resistance by cultivating self-compassion, embracing vulnerability, reframing their beliefs, and seeking support. They all learned to accept themselves, flaws and all, and to move forward with courage and authenticity. They all recognized that their resistance was a sign that they were on the right track, approaching a part of themselves that needed healing and integration. In essence, understanding and overcoming resistance to shadow integration is a journey of self-compassion, courage, and commitment. By recognizing the nature and roots of resistance, and by implementing practical strategies for dismantling defenses and embracing vulnerability, you can unlock your authentic potential and create a life of greater wholeness and fulfillment. But how do we cultivate a more loving and accepting relationship with ourselves, particularly when facing our deepest flaws and insecurities? Section 1. The counterfeit self. Distinguishing authentic self from its deceptive imitatons. Consider the person who spends hours perfecting their selfies, meticulously crafting an image of flawless beauty and effortless happiness for their social media followers. Each post is carefully curated, designed to elicit likes, comments, and the fleeting rush of external validation. Is this truly self-love, or something else entirely? Is it possible to cultivate a genuine sense of self-worth through filtered images and manufactured online personas? The answer lies in discerning the crucial difference between surface-level actions and the deeper currents of our internal thoughts. This outward display of self-admiration often masks a profound inner insecurity and a desperate need for external approval. The constant pursuit of likes and validation can become an addiction, a never-ending quest to fill an inner void with the fleeting attention of others. The more reliant we become on external sources of self-worth, the more fragile our sense of self becomes, teetering precariously on the shifting sands of public opinion. What happens when the likes stop coming, or when the comments turn critical? Does our self-love evaporate along with them? It quickly becomes clear that seeking validation is not the goal. The pitfalls of external validation are numerous and insidious. It can lead to a distorted sense of self, where our worth is determined by the arbitrary standards of social media or the fickle opinions of others. It can also foster a dangerous dependence on external sources of happiness, leaving us vulnerable to disappointment and despair when those sources inevitably fail us. The more we seek validation from the outside world, the less we're able to cultivate genuine self-acceptance and appreciation from within. Is it possible to truly love yourself if your self-worth hinges on the approval of strangers? True self-love, in contrast, begins from within. It is not about projecting a flawless image to the world, but about accepting ourselves' strengths and weaknesses, imperfections, and all with kindness, compassion, and unwavering self-acceptance. It is about recognizing our inherent worth as human beings, regardless of our external achievements or the opinions of others. Authentic self-love is a deep and abiding sense of inner peace, a quiet confidence that emanates from the core of our being. It is something that no one can take away from us, regardless of the circumstances. Section 2. The Two Paths. Narcissism vs. SELFCOMPSSION. A fork in the road of SELFREGRD. To truly understand self-love, we must first define what it means to accept all aspects of ourselves' strengths and weaknesses, light and shadow, with kindness, compassion, and understanding, not hyper-focusing on the positive. Authentic self-love involves treating ourselves with the same care and respect that we would offer to a dear friend. It is about acknowledging our pain, celebrating our triumphs, and forgiving ourselves for our mistakes. It is a constant process of self-discovery and self-acceptance, a journey of embracing our whole selves, flaws and all. Narcissism, on the other hand, is a distorted and warped form of self-love that involves an inflated sense of self-importance, a need for constant admiration, and a profound lack of empathy for others. Narcissists often believe that they are superior to others, entitled to special treatment, and deserving of constant praise and attention. They may exploit and manipulate others to get their needs met, and they are often incapable of genuine connection or intimacy. Narcissism is not about genuine self-acceptance. It is about creating a false image of perfection to mask deep-seated insecurities and a fragile ego. Self-compassion serves as the antidote to narcissism, a powerful tool for cultivating authentic self-love and overcoming the destructive patterns of self-criticism and self-judgment. Self-compassion involves treating oneself with the same kindness, understanding, and acceptance that one would offer to a friend who is struggling. It is about recognizing that we are all imperfect human beings, prone to making mistakes and experiencing difficult emotions. When we practice self-compassion, we are able to acknowledge our pain without judgment, forgive ourselves for our shortcomings, and move forward with greater resilience and self-acceptance. How can you start practicing self-compassion today? Healthy boundaries are an essential component of true self-love, distinguishing it from the self-absorption and lack of empathy that characterize narcissism. True self-love necessitates healthy boundaries, responsibility to others, and a recognition of our interconnectedness. Setting healthy boundaries involves clearly defining our limits, communicating our needs assertively, and protecting ourselves from exploitation and abuse. It is about recognizing that we are not responsible for the happiness of others, and that we have the right to prioritize our own well-being. Selfishness, in contrast, involves prioritizing our own needs at the expense of others, disregarding their feelings and boundaries. Section 3. Shadow Signs. Case studies in true and warped SELFLOVE consider the authentic influencer, a social media personality who uses their platform to promote body positivity, mental health awareness, and self-acceptance. They share their own struggles with vulnerability, encouraging their followers to embrace their imperfections and cultivate self-compassion. They are honest about their flaws, posting content showing both good and bad days, which is authentic and true. They use their influence to inspire others to live authentically and embrace their true selves, regardless of societal pressures or unrealistic beauty standards. In contrast, consider the perfectionistic overachiever, an individual who strives for flawless performance in all areas of their life, driven by a fear of failure and a need for external validation. They are constantly pushing themselves to achieve more, often at the expense of their physical and emotional well-being. They are highly critical of themselves and others, holding themselves to impossibly high standards. They struggle to accept their imperfections, viewing them as signs of weakness and failure. This pursuit of perfection is a manifestation of warped self-love, a desperate attempt to earn the approval of others and mask deep-seated insecurities. Their internal dialogue is often self-critical, and they may experience anxiety, burnout, and a constant sense of inadequacy. Now, consider the empathetic caregiver, a person who dedicates their life to serving others, but also prioritizes their own well-being, sets healthy boundaries, and practices self-care. They give generously of their time and energy, but they also recognize the importance of replenishing their own resources. They set healthy boundaries, saying no when necessary and protecting their own time and energy. They practice self-care, engaging in activities that nourish their body, mind, and spirit. They understand that they cannot effectively care for others if they do not first care for themselves. This is an example of true self-love in action, a balance between service to others and self-preservation. The victim mentality presents a stark contrast. A person who wallows in self-pity and blames others for their problems, refusing to take responsibility for their own life. They see themselves as powerless and helpless, constantly complaining about their circumstances and seeking sympathy from others. They avoid taking responsibility for their actions, blaming external factors for their failures and disappointments. Over time, this victim mentality can lead to a sense of learned helplessness, where the individual truly believes that they are incapable of changing their life. They may become isolated and bitter, unable to experience genuine happiness or fulfillment. Marie-Louise von France writes, "When we are not aware of our shadow, we are in its power." These examples illustrate the importance of self-awareness and shadow integration in cultivating true self-love. Section 4. SCLFLOVES Mirror. Reflecting on OUR inner motives and archetypal INFLUNCES. In summary, true self-love is characterized by self-compassion, acceptance, healthy boundaries, and a deep sense of inner worth, while warped self-love is marked by narcissism, self-absorption, external validation, and a lack of empathy. The key lies in recognizing the difference between authentic self-acceptance and the deceptive allure of ego inflation. By cultivating self-compassion, setting healthy boundaries, and integrating our shadow, we can move towards a more genuine and fulfilling relationship with ourselves. However, certain archetypes, when unconscious, can have a negative impact on self-love. The tyrant, for example, may manifest as an inner critic, constantly judging and berating us. The victim may lead us to wallow in self-pity and blame others for our problems. The shadow, representing our disowned qualities, can sabotage our efforts to cultivate self-acceptance. Being aware of these archetypal influences is crucial for navigating the complexities of self-love. How might awareness of your own tyrant archetype change your self-talk? Now, let's consider the role of archetypes in both healthy and unhealthy forms of self-love. What archetypes promote self-compassion and acceptance, and which ones contribute to narcissism and self-absorption? We've seen how a lack of shadow awareness can inhibit self-love, but now we must consider what part the archetypes play and how they influence the formation of our self-image. So, how do we ensure that our actions are motivated by authentic self-love, rather than the deceptive allure of narcissism or other shadow influences? How do we recognize and integrate these archetypal patterns within ourselves, fostering a more balanced and compassionate relationship with our inner world? Section 1. Archetypal Allies and ENEMIS. How universal PATTRNS influence SCLFLOVE. Have you ever wondered why certain patterns keep repeating in your life, despite your best efforts to change them? Or why you are drawn to some people and repelled by others, even without a clear reason? The answer may lie in the powerful influence of archetypes, universal patterns of behavior and motivation that reside deep within the collective unconscious. What most fail to understand is that these archetypes aren't inherently good or bad. They are neutral energies that can manifest in either healthy or unhealthy ways, either promoting or hindering genuine self-love. Consider archetypes as tools. A hammer in the hands of a skilled carpenter can build a beautiful house, providing shelter and comfort for a family. However, that same hammer in the hands of someone with malicious intent can be used to destroy property or inflict harm. The hammer itself is neither good nor evil. It is simply a tool, and its impact depends entirely on how it is used. Similarly, archetypes are neutral energies that can be channeled in constructive or destructive ways, and it is up to the individual to be aware of this and adjust accordingly. It's essential to highlight that even seemingly positive archetypes can become detrimental if they are idealized or taken to an extreme, leading to unrealistic expectations and self-judgment. For example, a distorted mother archetype can lead to smothering or enabling behavior, preventing individuals from developing their own independence and sense of self-reliance. The mother archetype, when healthy, fosters nurturing, compassion, and acceptance, providing a secure foundation for self-love to flourish. However, when taken to an extreme, it can manifest as self-sacrifice, codependency, and a constant need to put others' needs before one's own, creating a sense of resentment and burnout. Ultimately, awareness of these archetypal influences is key to consciously shaping them and aligning them with authentic self-love. By understanding the potential pitfalls and the positive manifestations of each archetype, we can consciously cultivate the qualities that support our well-being and mitigate the tendencies that undermine our self-worth. The power resides within the individual to recognize these patterns and make conscious choices that align with their authentic selves. But how do we take this knowledge and turn it into actionable steps? Section 2. Archetypal Profiles. Exploring key ARCHETYPES and their relationship to SELFLOVE. The mother archetype, as we've discussed, can foster self-love through nurturing, compassion, and acceptance. However, it can also lead to self-neglect if taken to an extreme, thus requiring balance. On the positive side, this archetype encourages self-care, empathy, and unconditional love, providing a foundation for healthy relationships and a strong sense of self-worth. It allows individuals to connect with their own inner child and to treat themselves with the same kindness and compassion they would offer to a loved one. Conversely, the negative manifestation of the mother archetype can result in self-sacrifice, enabling behavior, and codependency. Individuals may prioritize the needs of others to such an extent that they neglect their own well-being, leading to resentment, burnout, and a diminished sense of self. They may become overly involved in the lives of others, attempting to fix their problems and control their choices, ultimately hindering their own growth and independence. This imbalance can create a cycle of unhealthy relationships and a lack of genuine self-love. The hero archetype can inspire self-love through courage, resilience, and the pursuit of personal goals, but can also lead to self-criticism and burnout if success becomes the sole measure of self-worth and needs to also be balanced. Positively, the hero embodies self-confidence, determination, and a drive for achievement, empowering individuals to overcome obstacles and pursue their dreams. It fosters a sense of competence and self-efficacy, reinforcing the belief that they are capable of achieving great things. However, when the hero archetype is distorted, it can manifest as perfectionism, arrogance, and workaholism. Individuals may become overly focused on external validation, constantly striving to meet impossibly high standards and sacrificing their well-being in the process. They may become critical of themselves and others, judging their worth based solely on their accomplishments. This relentless pursuit of success can lead to burnout, anxiety, and a diminished sense of self-worth, undermining the very self-love they seek to cultivate. The lover archetype can cultivate self-love through appreciation of beauty, sensuality, and connection, but can also lead to self-obsession and a focus on external validation, which should also be balanced. At its best, the lover archetype promotes self-acceptance, body positivity, and a deep appreciation for the beauty in the world around us. It encourages individuals to embrace their sensuality, connect with their emotions, and cultivate meaningful relationships with others. It fosters a sense of belonging and acceptance, reinforcing the belief that they are worthy of love and connection. However, the shadow side of the lover archetype can manifest as vanity, insecurity, and dependence on external approval. Individuals may become overly focused on their appearance, constantly seeking validation from others and judging their worth based on external standards of beauty. They may become insecure and jealous in their relationships, fearing abandonment and constantly seeking reassurance from their partners. This dependence on external validation can lead to a fragile sense of self-worth and a diminished capacity for genuine self-love. Finally, the jester archetype can encourage self-love through humor, playfulness, and a light-hearted approach to life, but can also lead to self-deprecation and a lack of self-respect, emphasizing the need to avoid this pitfall. When healthy, the jester promotes self-acceptance, humor, and lightness, encouraging individuals to embrace their imperfections and find joy in the everyday moments. It fosters a sense of resilience and adaptability, allowing them to navigate challenges with a sense of humor and perspective. However, the negative side of the jester can manifest as self-deprecation and a lack of self-respect. Individuals may use humor to deflect criticism, avoid vulnerability, and mask their true feelings. They may downplay their accomplishments, minimize their strengths, and constantly put themselves down in an attempt to gain approval from others. This self-deprecating behavior can undermine their self-worth and prevent them from developing a genuine sense of self-love. So how can we avoid these pitfalls? Section 3. Archetypal Stories. Examples from mythology, literature, and life. In Greek mythology, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, exemplifies the mother archetype. Her devotion to her daughter Persephone, while admirable, led to a neglect of her own well-being and a devastating winter for the world when Persephone was abducted by Hades. Demeter's intense focus on her daughter overshadowed her own needs, resulting in widespread suffering and highlighting the dangers of an unbalanced mother archetype. Hercules, the legendary hero known for his extraordinary strength and courage, also embodies the shadow side of the hero archetype. His accomplishments were often overshadowed by his fits of rage and self-destructive behavior, demonstrating how an overemphasis on external achievement can mask deep-seated insecurities and a lack of self-control. He often acted impulsively, with little thought to the consequences, highlighting the need for balance and self-awareness in the hero archetype. In Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, Elizabeth Bennet initially embodies the shadow side of the lover archetype. Her pride and prejudice blinded her to her own flaws and prevented her from seeing the good in others, leading to misunderstandings and missed opportunities. She was quick to judge others based on superficial impressions, hindering her ability to form genuine connections and develop a true understanding of herself and those around her. Miguel de Cervantes's Don Quixote provides a literary example of the jester archetype taken to an extreme. His idealistic and delusional nature led him to tilt at windmills and make a fool of himself, demonstrating how a lack of self-awareness and a disconnect from reality can lead to ridicule and disappointment. While his intentions were noble, his actions were often misguided and ultimately self-defeating. In modern pop culture, Elle Woods from Legally Blonde exemplifies the hero archetype with a twist. Though driven and intelligent, her overemphasis on beauty as an asset led to initial judgment from her peers. However, she eventually used her unique blend of intelligence and charm to overcome these obstacles and achieve her goals, demonstrating the power of embracing one's authentic self, even when it defies expectations. Deadpool, the Marvel antihero, embodies the jester archetype in a contemporary context. His over-the-top humor allowed him to cope with otherwise unbearable situations and to show others their own ridiculous natures, using humor as a defense mechanism and a way to connect with others on a deeper level. But he also uses it as a means of deflecting and to not take situations seriously. In modern life, we see examples of mothers who take the mother archetype too far, smothering their children and preventing them from developing independence. We also see individuals who use humor to mask their insecurities and avoid vulnerability, embodying the negative side of the jester archetype. The balance is the most important thing to be achieved. Are you prepared to balance it? Section 4. Crafting an Archetypal Alliance. A personal blueprint for self-love and wholeness. Knowing how archetypes work can help individuals to create an actionable plan for self-love that plays to their strengths while accounting for their potential weaknesses. By understanding the positive and negative manifestations of each archetype, we can consciously cultivate the qualities that support our well-being and mitigate the tendencies that undermine our self-worth. Consider creating a personal archetypal profile. Reflect upon which archetypes are dominant in your personality and how those archetypes have helped or hurt your self-love journey. Have you relied too heavily on the approval of others, neglecting your own needs and desires? Or have you been overly critical of yourself, striving for perfection and never feeling good enough? Now, consider how you can consciously cultivate the positive aspects of each archetype and find ways to make up for the negative ones or to channel those energies into something helpful. If you identify with the hero archetype, focus on setting realistic goals, celebrating your accomplishments, and practicing self-compassion when you fall short. If you resonate with the lover archetype, cultivate self-acceptance, embrace your sensuality, and connect with others in meaningful ways. If you identify with the jester archetype, use humor to lighten your mood, connect with others, and find joy in the everyday moments, but avoid using it to deflect or put yourself down. As we continue to learn about ourselves, and we can integrate all aspects of our personality, we get closer to embodying who we truly are meant to be. As you better understand what you want, will you achieve it? The journey of self-discovery is an ongoing process, a symphony of the soul in which all the archetypes must be harmonized to create a masterpiece of wholeness. What are the next movements in your symphony? Section 1. The Hall of Limiting Beliefs. Unconscious constraints on potential. Have you ever felt like you were running in place, working tirelessly but never getting ahead? Or that invisible forces were holding you back from achieving your true potential? These experiences often stem from limiting beliefs, unconscious, self-defeating assumptions that restrict our potential and hinder our success, acting as invisible chains that bind us to a reality far smaller than we are capable of creating. But what are some signs that you might have these beliefs? These beliefs often operate below conscious awareness, subtly shaping our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, much like a hidden program running in the background of a computer, dictating our actions without our conscious knowledge. We might find ourselves consistently avoiding challenges, procrastinating on important tasks, or sabotaging our own efforts, all because of these deeply ingrained negative beliefs, often stemming from a place of fear. For example, someone who believes they are not intelligent might avoid pursuing higher education, while someone who fears failure might never start their own business, each decision reinforcing the initial limiting belief. Where do these limiting beliefs originate? They often stem from a combination of childhood experiences, societal conditioning, past failures, and negative self-talk, forming a complex web of unconscious assumptions that shape our perception of ourselves and the world around us. Perhaps you were constantly criticized as a child, leading you to believe you are not good enough, or maybe you experienced a traumatic event that instilled a deep-seated fear of failure. What were some of the beliefs that were instilled in you in your childhood? Were you told you were smart, athletic, creative, or were you told that you were clumsy, stupid, or uncoordinated? The role of trauma and negative reinforcement in shaping these beliefs cannot be overstated. A single, traumatic experience can leave a lasting imprint on our psyche, creating a negative belief that persists for years, even decades, shaping our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in subtle yet pervasive ways. For instance, a child who is publicly humiliated in school might develop a deep-seated fear of speaking in public, which could then limit their career prospects later in life. Do you have any memories or specific experiences that changed the trajectory of your life? The self-fulfilling prophecy is a powerful phenomenon that demonstrates how limiting beliefs can create a self-fulfilling prophecy, as we unconsciously act in ways that confirm our negative expectations, reinforcing our initial negative beliefs and perpetuating a cycle of self-sabotage. As Henry Ford famously said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right," highlighting the profound impact of our beliefs on our actions and outcomes. The initial expectation, even if unfounded, triggers behaviors that ultimately lead to its fulfillment. Now that we understand the nature and origin of limiting beliefs, let's examine how they manifest in our lives and sabotage our efforts to achieve success, often in ways we don't consciously recognize. Section 2. Masked ARCHETYPES. How ARCHETYPES interpret limiting BELIFs. How do our limiting beliefs relate to archetypes? The victim archetype, for example, reinforces limiting beliefs of powerlessness, helplessness, and lack of control, trapping individuals in a cycle of self-pity and resignation. Individuals trapped in the victim's script often feel as though they are at the mercy of external forces, unable to influence their own lives or create positive change. What concrete actions might perpetuate the victim's script? Complaining, blaming others, avoiding responsibility, and seeking constant reassurance are all common behaviors. The victim archetype often voices limiting beliefs such as, "I'm destined to fail," "I'm not good enough," or "the world is against me," solidifying their sense of helplessness and preventing them from taking proactive steps to improve their situation. These beliefs become a self-fulfilling prophecy, as the individual unconsciously seeks out situations that confirm their negative expectations, further reinforcing their victim identity and often alienating them from people who would otherwise help. The saboteur archetype, on the other hand, amplifies limiting beliefs of unworthiness, self-doubt, and fear of failure, undermining our efforts and preventing us from taking risks, ultimately hindering our path to success. This archetype often manifests as a constant inner critic, constantly questioning our abilities, highlighting our flaws, and reminding us of past failures. What specific fears are amplified by the saboteur? Fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, and fear of success itself are all common anxieties. The saboteur might whisper limiting beliefs such as, "I'm going to fail," "I'm not capable," or "I don't deserve success," preventing us from pursuing our goals and sabotaging our efforts along the way. This archetype often leads to procrastination, perfectionism, and self-destructive behaviors, as we unconsciously attempt to protect ourselves from the perceived pain of failure, often making that fear into reality. The martyr archetype perpetuates limiting beliefs of self-sacrifice, self-denial, and the need to prioritize others' needs above our own, preventing us from pursuing our own happiness and fulfillment. This archetype often manifests as a compulsive need to please others, putting their needs before our own, even at the expense of our own well-being. What might this look like to outside observers? Constantly volunteering for tasks, neglecting personal needs, and feeling resentful but unable to assert boundaries are all common signs. The martyr might cling to limiting beliefs such as, "I have to put others first," "My needs don't matter," or "I don't deserve happiness," sacrificing their own well-being in the pursuit of external validation and approval. This archetype often leads to burnout, resentment, and a diminished sense of self-worth, as individuals prioritize the needs of others to such an extent that they neglect their own needs and desires, leading to emotional and physical exhaustion. Finally, the imposter archetype, the feeling of being a fraud, reinforces limiting beliefs of inadequacy, incompetence, and fear of being exposed as a fake, preventing us from embracing our accomplishments and fully realizing our potential. This archetype often manifests as a deep-seated fear of being found out, constantly worrying that others will discover our perceived lack of skills, knowledge, or experience. What steps do these people take to hide themselves? Avoiding challenges, downplaying accomplishments, and constantly seeking reassurance are all common behaviors. The imposter might harbor limiting beliefs such as, "I'm a fraud," "I'm not as good as people think," or "I'm going to be found out," undermining their confidence and preventing them from fully embracing their achievements. This archetype often leads to anxiety, self-doubt, and a constant need for external validation, as individuals struggle to reconcile their internal sense of inadequacy with their external accomplishments, often experiencing a persistent sense of unease and anxiety. Now that we know what we are struggling against, how can we shatter the glass ceiling? Section 3. Shattering the glass ceiling. Transforming limiting beliefs into empowering ones. Challenging the evidence is a crucial first step in overcoming limiting beliefs, requiring us to question the validity and accuracy of our negative assumptions by examining the evidence that supports or contradicts them. This process involves objectively evaluating the basis of our beliefs, determining whether they are based on facts or assumptions, and identifying any cognitive distortions that might be influencing our perception of reality. For example, is your belief that you are not good enough based on concrete evidence, or is it simply a negative self-judgment that you have internalized over time? Consider the evidence that supports your limiting beliefs. Are these beliefs based on facts or assumptions? Have you ever succeeded in similar situations? What are your strengths and accomplishments? By objectively examining the evidence, we can begin to dismantle the foundation of our limiting beliefs and replace them with more accurate and empowering perspectives. If you've always believed you're bad at math, what about the times you successfully balanced your checkbook or planned a complex trip? Reframing the narrative involves consciously reframing our limiting beliefs by adopting a more positive and empowering perspective, focusing on our strengths, opportunities, and possibilities, thus changing the feeling associated with them. This process requires us to challenge our negative thought patterns, identify alternative interpretations of situations, and cultivate a sense of optimism and resilience. What are the alternative interpretations of this situation? Instead of viewing a setback as a failure, can you see it as an opportunity for growth and learning? For example, instead of believing, "I'm going to fail," you might reframe it as, "I'm going to learn and grow, even if I don't succeed perfectly." This shift in perspective can have a profound impact on our emotions, motivation, and behavior, empowering us to take risks, overcome challenges, and achieve our goals with greater confidence and resilience. The ability to reframe the narrative turns fear into excitement. Affirmations and visualization can be powerful tools for replacing limiting beliefs with empowering ones, consciously reprogramming the subconscious mind and solidifying a more positive and optimistic outlook. By repeatedly affirming positive statements about ourselves and visualizing our desired outcomes, we can gradually shift our beliefs and create a more empowering self-image. "I am capable," "I am worthy," "I am successful" are examples of affirmations that can reprogram the subconscious mind. What are the long-term impacts of this? Over time, these affirmations can become deeply ingrained in our psyche, influencing our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in subtle yet powerful ways. But it is important to pair your long-term visions with action. Taking action despite fear is a crucial step in overcoming limiting beliefs, proving them wrong through experience and building confidence, making the experience repeatable and actionable. This involves stepping outside of our comfort zone, facing our fears head-on, and taking small, consistent steps towards our goals, even when we feel uncertain or afraid. If you believe you are not a good public speaker, start by practicing in front of a mirror, then gradually progress to speaking in front of small groups of friends or family members, eventually working your way up to larger audiences. Every step you take, no matter how small, helps to chip away at your limiting beliefs, building confidence and momentum along the way. As you experience success, you will begin to realize that your fears were unfounded and that you are capable of achieving far more than you ever thought possible. But how can we be certain that this process will work? Section 4. Case Studies. Overcoming limiting beliefs and unlocking authentic success. Consider the case of a business owner, a recovering perfectionist, who overcomes their limiting belief of "I have to be perfect" by embracing imperfection, delegating tasks, and celebrating small victories, building a successful company and a more balanced life as a result. Initially, this business owner was plagued by a relentless need for perfection. constantly striving to meet impossibly high standards and micromanaging every aspect of their business, eventually leading to burnout and frustration. However, by consciously challenging their limiting belief and embracing imperfection, they learn to delegate tasks, trust their employees, and celebrate small victories, creating a more collaborative and supportive work environment. Or consider the case of a manager, an introverted leader, who overcomes their limiting belief of "I'm not a natural leader" by embracing their introverted strengths, listening, empathy, thoughtfulness, building a high-performing team, and inspiring others through their authenticity. Instead of trying to emulate extroverted leadership styles, they focused on their natural ability to listen, empathize, and provide thoughtful guidance, creating a team that felt valued, supported, and empowered. Then there is the example of an artist, a creative entrepreneur, who overcomes their limiting belief of "my work isn't good enough" by embracing vulnerability, sharing their creations with the world, and receiving positive feedback, building a successful career and connecting with others on a deep level. Initially, this artist was paralyzed by self-doubt, constantly comparing their work to others and fearing rejection. However, by embracing vulnerability and sharing their creations with the world, they received positive feedback, built a following, and launched a successful career, proving their limiting belief wrong. Finally, let us consider the anxious student. This college student, crippled with fear of failure, overcomes their limiting beliefs to seek out a mentor, find a support group, and to focus on their strengths and how these lead to positive change. By seeking out a mentor who provided guidance and encouragement, joining a support group where they could share their experiences with others, and focusing on their strengths instead of their weaknesses, this student was able to overcome their anxiety and achieve academic success, proving that even the most deeply ingrained limiting beliefs can be overcome with the right support and mindset. What concrete steps did each of these people take? What were the tangible results? How did they go from a mindset of stuckness to success? Each individual consciously challenged their limiting beliefs, embraced their strengths, sought support from others, and took consistent action towards their goals, ultimately transforming their lives and achieving authentic success. The tangible results included increased confidence, improved well-being, stronger relationships, and greater professional fulfillment. To summarize, it is important to understand the key points about identifying and overcoming limiting beliefs, emphasizing that it's a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. By challenging our negative assumptions, reframing our perspectives, and taking action despite our fears, we can unlock our true potential and create a life of success and fulfillment. Now that the viewers have been deprogrammed, how to build themselves back up? How do we build ourselves back up? Through archetypes and beyond. In closing, let's synthesize the elements we've explored on the path to authentic success, acknowledging the transformative power of understanding our inner world. To best embrace a meaningful life, it is important to understand how we can improve our limiting beliefs and how they can often be overcome. As we transition into this final segment, it is suggested that you slow your delivery, increase the length of your pauses, and prepare yourself for broader, more reflective statements. We've examined how shadow integration, archetypal awareness, and values alignment are not isolated pursuits, but interdependent facets of the journey toward individuation. Our exploration has revealed the transformative potential inherent in embracing our inner landscape, integrating disowned aspects of the self, consciously aligning with archetypal energies, and becoming aware of any limiting beliefs, however difficult to perceive they may be. Underlying all of our actions are deep-seated, difficult to discover and remove beliefs, but which, if we become aware of them, can dramatically improve our lives. The journey toward wholeness requires a willingness to confront these hidden assumptions and rewrite the narratives that define us, freeing ourselves from the constraints of our past and embracing the possibilities of our future. As Jung himself noted, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate, emphasizing the importance of self-awareness in shaping our destiny. We began by questioning the conventional definition of success, the external achievements, accolades, and material possessions that society often equates with worth and fulfillment. Now, we recognize that true success lies not in external achievements, but in the ongoing process of becoming our most authentic selves, a journey of self-discovery, integration, and purpose. Initially, shadow integration and archetypal awareness may have seemed esoteric or daunting, concepts relegated to the realm of depth psychology or mythological studies. But by exploring these concepts, we now appreciate their practical relevance to our daily lives and our pursuit of lasting fulfillment, recognizing them as powerful tools for personal growth, self-understanding, and authentic expression. Throughout this entire video, the importance of introspection and honesty were paramount to being able to walk the rocky path to individuation. The greatest success lies not in eliminating our flaws, but in embracing them as integral parts of our unique mosaic of wholeness, recognizing that our imperfections are not liabilities, but assets, the very qualities that make us human and relatable. This embrace of imperfection allows us to cultivate compassion, empathy, and authenticity, fostering deeper connections with ourselves and others. Ultimately, the journey toward authentic success is a reflection of the timeless human quest for meaning, connection, and purpose in a complex and ever-changing world. A quest that transcends cultural boundaries, historical epochs, and individual differences. The seeds of transformation are sown in the fertile ground of self-awareness, nurtured by the light of compassion, and blossom into a life of purpose and fulfillment. The insights shared in this video serve as a starting point, a compass to guide you on your own individual journey. It is now up to each individual to embark on their own journey of self-discovery and create a life that truly reflects their authentic selves, a life that is aligned with their values, passions, and purpose. Continue to explore the works of Carl Jung and other depth psychologists. Engage in shadow work practices and consciously align your actions with your core values to embrace discomfort and to face your fears. You can continue your learning by rewatching this video to take detailed notes, looking to other resources that focus on Jungian psychology, or spending time in introspection and applying what you have learned here to your own personal situation and creating a plan for your future to engage more deeply with the mysteries of your own psyche. By embracing the principles of authentic success, we can not only transform our own lives, but also inspire others to embark on their own journeys of self-discovery and create a more compassionate, meaningful, and fulfilling world. A world where everyone is empowered to live their truth and reach their full potential. Thank you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery. Until next time.